every year, roughly. He said between 75 to 90 quotes.
Hmm.
And then I said, okay, so give me an example last month, let's say this month, January, because we're nearly kind of towards the end of January. I said,
Right.
how many quotes did you send? And he said, I sent five. And how many did you close? Zero. And
Right.
I said, basically said, what would it mean to you if I could just close one of those, bring you one job, you know? And that's where he kind of said, wow, you're a good salesperson. And then he sat back and he was like, okay, like, but I don't trust that he said he was like, but it's like if I was to kind of hire you to do that, then what about my employees? They could easily do that, what you're kind of offering me. So I
Yeah.
think in a way he's kind of scared that AI is going to he's probably thinking, why am I paying my employees if I'm going to pay you to do the automation for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look
Um,
at look at like anybody live in Jersey, like New Jersey area, or you live in a state where you're not allowed to pump your own gas or petrol, as Peppa Pig has taught me the UK calls it,
mm,
right? Like
yeah.
there's states where you can't pump your own gas. I think Jersey is one of them. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but there that was a if it's no longer a thing, that was a big thing for a while. So even just the legislation around that is what, led to people doing, not to be degrading in any way, shape, or form, but menial tasks, right? And
Mm,
so technology has always um, eliminated jobs, but eliminating jobs, like we have to remember that eliminating jobs does not eliminate people, right? Like it's not going to eliminate the individual themselves. It's just going to eliminate what they were doing. So for example,
mm,
if I eliminate doing a chore, am I done with all chores? No. Because anytime you get a new item or individual or whatever the case may be, there's now tasks that go into that task, right?
mm,
So if you're like, oh, well, my people could be doing the follow-ups, but now the system is, I have to fire them. Well, no, who's going to be
mm,
innovating and looking at the data and adapting the language and who's going to be doing the calls when somebody calls in and wants to talk with a person, like, um, who's going to be handling all of that stuff, right? And then you can argue, well, won't AI agents replace that? It's like, yeah, just the same way that like, self-checkouts replace, think about it, their self-checkouts and how many people say, oh, self-checkout's open, but I want somebody to scan it for me,
mm,
right? It's not like people
yeah.
are lining up, and sometimes you need a person to do troubleshooting. So what happens is, and if you look at like the core SASO process, and I'll screen share in just a second, but if you look at the core SASO process, and if you look at what every single piece of literature on like the full scaling, right? And it's always time based, right? So if you look at Built to Sell by Warlow, if you look at the E-Myth Revisited by Gerber, if you look at Buy Back Your Time by Martell, what they cover is if you, and this is what I cover in the say so process is what piece, like what do we automate? What do we delegate, right? And so if you look at it, the way that they illustrate, and I'll illustrate on the screen in just a second, but the way that they illustrate it, let me see. Here we go. Is as such. So that's gonna share in just a second. There we go. So you've got, and this illustration comes from Gerber, and I'll show you what I would do differently. So you've got this is you at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got people under you. So this is like maybe middle management, and then you have your workers, and this is maybe like your technicians, your workers, right? So you've got the entrepreneur, you've got the um, middle management, and you've got your technicians, right? And by the way, if you ever want to know like why do agencies go from high margin to low margin but cash flow increases, it's always because of these dudes right here. Middle management's always your biggest cost. It's those support roles that don't directly lead to cash conversion every single time. So looking at this flow, right? Just looking at this structure, this is like your hierarchy, right? And what's funny is your hierarchy looks very similar to the triangle, right? The client ascension triangle. It's very similar, right? So what you're doing is you have, again, your CEO, middle management technicians. Now, what I would add onto what Gerber says is I would add a lower space, and the lower space would actually be your automations, right? Because anything you can automate is going to be like the lowest on the totem pole, right? If you look at the say so process, when we go to the automation stage, what are we doing? We're simplifying so we can eliminate waste. Now that we've eliminated waste, we're going to automate everything we can. Anything that we can't automate is going to get pushed down to the delegation stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you're a one man show, and you're doing landscaping, hardscaping, construction, right? Because that's where your guy is. He's going to be the one doing the calls and making the Google listing, and he's doing everything, right?
Hmm.
As he's promoting himself up, is he promoting somebody else to be the CEO, or is he promoting somebody else to do the menial, boring tasks for him? He's going to focus on the boring stuff, right? Because
Mm.
he, this being him, is going to promote himself upwards. And now, again, in the beginning, he's doing all of these things. So he's going to start with, let me first outsource this, then this. And then you can pick, do I want to stay here or do I want to let somebody else take over? Right. So automations come in that aspect. And then what you're doing is just like you are promoting yourself up, your team can be promoted up too. Right.
Hmm.
And you can take care of them that way. So technology advancement is as like let me ask you guys, do you guys think at any point technology is going to stop advancing?
Oh no.
No. So
Yep.
to if we're looking at evergreen principles, and Bezos talks about this, he says build around core evergreen principles. Always build around that. He's like people are always going to want cheap, fast, quality, right? He's like so let's build around that. Now you can argue, whether he's doing it or not doing it doesn't matter, but the intention of him trying to do it is there, right? So if you're building around these core principles of like, okay, technology is going to advance. This is why it's so important for people who like, and people argue with me on all this all the time. I couldn't care less. When you're niching down, this is why I say don't niche down by a product. I design funnels. What is high level drop? AI funnel builder. Are people still going to want people to build funnels? Yes, but that's going to eliminate a ton of businesses right there. You
Mm.
don't have to agree. You can agree or disagree, right? ChatGPT eliminated a ton of copywriters. The best ones are going to be more expensive, but all those bottom of the barrel guys gone,
Mm. Yeah,
eliminated.
sure.
So when the AI agents start learning how to build automations, you're going to lose all the automation specialists or the wannabes at the bottom are going to be wiped out, right? So if you know technology is going to advance, then you can kind of walk them through like, listen, like you can age out if you want to, but like technology is going to advance. You can even ask him like, do you think technology will ever not advance? And he's going to tell you no. And if he says yes, and this is what I want to cover with you, Adeline, is if what if they say yes to things that we know are false? So if
Mm.
you if he tells you, like for example, do you think technology is ever going to stop advancing? And you say yes. Do we think he's right?
Obviously no, because it's not
No.
going to stop you. Yeah.
But do you think it'd be productive to be like, well, you're wrong?
Not really. I think it would be good to kind of give him like a breakdown
Right. So
of
the way
why.
we yeah, and what we do is, and I was covering this on the call the other day, I think it was yesterday with Patricia, which is if I want to make a point, I have to get you to make the point to yourself.
Mm.
So watch this. Adelina, what's your first name?
Adelina.
Now, what you didn't recognize that you just did is you ask yourself, what is my name? My name is Adelina, and then you
Mm.
respond out loud. Now, if I do this instead, Adelina, are you in the US?
No.
No. Okay, so Adelina, let's say, have you visited the US?
No.
Okay, would you want to visit the US ever?
Yes.
Okay, what time of year would you want to visit the US? So
Summer.
pause. You see how she just
Yeah.
looked off to the side?
Yeah.
She's asking herself, what time of the year do I want to go visit the US?
Mm.
So when I ask Adelina a question, Adelina has to ask herself a question, which means I can get her to work against herself in my favor.
Mm. Mm. That's
Now,
quite
when I say
smart. Yeah.
now when I say what's your name, Adelina, it's muscle memory. You don't have there's no reflection,
Yeah.
right?
Mm. Mm.
Unless maybe you change your last name, maybe you get married and you change your maiden name, or maybe I don't know, you commit a horrible crime and have to go undercover. Who knows, right? And then
Mm.
you got to think like, what's my new alias, right?
Mm.
But those questions are going to be how we dismantle them. So I'm not going to say no, you're wrong. I'm going to say, okay, you think technology will never advance any further. During your lifetime, has technology ever advanced? Yes. How often? Every year, every 5 years, every 10 years.
Mm.
So would it be safe to say technology is probably going to keep doing that? And if
Probably,
they
yeah.
if they
Yeah.
honestly say yes
Yeah.
to that, like they're just being like a smart, whatever, smart butt, it's like, okay. I would honestly like what I do is at that point, I honestly just say like, we both know the answer. We both know that's not the answer. I'm not quite sure why you're giving me that much pushback, but I just know, usually when people give me that pushback, it's a red flag and a pretty not great indicator of who they are. So we'll go ahead and wrap up
Mm.
the call.
Mm. Yeah.
You can,
Yeah.
and I can fire somebody. I can tell somebody you're being a turd nugget respectfully.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was this. I mean, the reason why I say I don't mind having objections on a call, that's absolutely fine.
Right.
But
And
there was a sense of arrogance there, as well,
so this is
which
why like I
so that's
can't
why it was like double for
yeah.
me, double whammy.
Yeah, and so what the questions do are the questions allow you to maintain, and this is going to work especially well for you. And I talk about this quite a bit where, so many times people want to really think that like gender nuances don't have a play or age nuances don't have a play. And I think that's really ignorant thinking to think like, because I'm a man and because Adelina a woman, we're gonna have the same experience. In my experience,
Mm,
that's completely opposite. Now, the benefit, in my opinion, of sales with being a woman, and again, this is just my opinion, you can DM me afterwards and call me a bigot if you want. But the benefit that I see in this is that typically you can get away with being much more curious and it comes across as much more genuine
mm,
just because of the tonality that I see usually female salespeople have. So, for example, if he's being a little arrogant, and this is again, this is I was the joke about. I love working with business owners, and I also can't stand them. They're some of the worst people, which is they think that doing what they've done is going to get them where they want to go,
that's
right?
exactly how he thought. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, if that's the case, why isn't he where he wants to be? Now, if I phrase it like that as a man, it's going to come off as like, wow, this guy's like kind of a butthole. But if you phrase it as a female being truly curious, it comes across as like genuine. Like, oh
Mm,
wait a minute. So that's one in my opinion, I've always heard that the top salespeople always are going to be um and I don't want you to misconstrue this as a comment on anyone's appearance in here, but this is just statistically speaking. Your better looking women and your better looking men are always the top salespeople, right? Your more attractive people are better salespeople. The next best salesperson is an ugly man every single time. And if you look at the statistics, it's almost always ugly guys are like the top of the top because they're so used to rejection.
mm,
So it's really funny. Usually you have at the top, you have your like people who are really good with rejection and people who are so good looking or so gifted in some way, shape, or form that they've never faced rejection. That's usually who your top salespeople are, right? And so what you want to do with the questioning is that you really want to be curious in a way where they have to then be curious to themselves. And that's we can only do that via questions. Because if I
mm,
say to you, I'm gonna pick like I think your shirt is black, right? I'm just gonna pick something stupid. I'm gonna say your shirt is really ugly. And you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, right? Now, watch how
mm,
much more painful this one is. I go, do you think that was the best shirt to wear? And you're gonna be like, oh,
mm,
like that's kind of mean because then you're gonna ask yourself, like, you know what? No, I knew I should have worn that other shirt, right? I'm just picking like, something
mm,
stupid, right?
mm.
And why she's gonna like burn the shirt after this, or I don't know. But like, someone goes like, oh, like those are the glasses, Omar, like, oh, you picked those glasses out? Like, oh, why those? I don't have to say they're ugly. He's gonna be like self-conscious about it because I asked him a question that he has to now ask himself, right?
Mm,
And so Omar's going to switch to contacts next, right? Who knows? But
mm,
the questioning, I'm going to cover that with the objection piece. The question is
mm.
so, so important because if you want to make a statement, you want to frame it into a question. So, for example, tell me a statement that you wanted to say during the call, or maybe you made during the call with him.
Um,
And for
yeah,
context for other people, it might be the part where you feel like you're having to convince somebody.
I did want to. I do regret actually not asking him how are you currently getting your leads,
Hmm.
because towards the end I think I told you he said, well, actually, I'll tell you a short story. He said there's a guy who contacted me out of the blue, and he said I'm going to call every single. Just tell me your target market, and I'm going to call every single person in New York City and pitch them your service. And he said so he did that via cold email, and he managed to get him like four deals or something. He was like,
Yeah.
that to me is
None of which he
amazing.
closed though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Five
So
bids, zero closes.
yeah, but like you said, it's like burning leads as well. There's going to get a point where that's going to stop
Yeah,
eventually,
of course.
you
And
know?
that's why I recommended you to read Ultimate. I recommend this book to everybody, Ultimate Sales Machine, because what they
Yeah.
cover in that book is like the just the follow-up portion of it and like just the sheer incessant follow-up. And so
Mm,
like they do it in a very professional, very classy way, and they explain all the different ways you can do it: mail, email, cold calling, going in person, events. They cover all of the avenues that I really enjoy, and they cover rotating them. So it's not just cold calling, it's not just email, it's not just ads. It's just like this nice, nuanced mixture to where you're doing what you can to get in front of you. It even tells you how to get past the gatekeepers, like when you call them. So it's a really good read, but the main focus there is the follow-up sequence. And so what I do when I have people, who come to me and they go, listen, like I need more leads. I go, okay, do you need, like, let's say you converted no leads. Are you happy? Well, no. So I go, okay, well, you want leads for a reason. Why do you want leads? Well, I want leads because, leads bring me jobs. I go, okay, so do you want jobs or do you want leads? Because we got to be super specific about what you want so I can help you get what you want. Well, I want jobs. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's Chet and Amanda Holmes. It's one of my favorite books because there's that element of he writes the book in 2005. He dies at age 55. She then rewrites the book, adding in, she leaves his book, but she adds in her own like side notes. It's just a really cool, like if any of you have kids, it's really cool like seeing like a could be legacy. It's like, oh, you want to pass it on to your kids. So to me, it's really cool, like the father daughter working together kind of thing, right? But anyway, so what they or what you would do with the questions that you're asking is you're not saying, hey, you don't need leads, you need jobs. You're instead saying, hey, do you prefer leads or do you prefer jobs? It's the same thing. The difference is now getting you to ask yourself versus you to play defense, right?
Mm.
Because if you've raised kids, you've got a toddler. If you start going down the road of, brush your teeth, no, yes, no, yes, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to like use questions to get them to turn on themselves, right? Same with teenagers, same with and guess what adults are? This is gonna be a big surprise. They're just big kids. That's it. They're just older kids. And if you've been in business, and if for you, Adelina, you saw it firsthand, when you work with other business owners, you really see, wow, you're just a giant toddler. You have more
Mm-hmm.
complicated emotions coming out more complicated, but you're just a big toddler. You're
Mm.
throwing a tantrum, right? You
Mm.
can't regulate your own emotion, right? At whatever 58, right? So the question you would go through would be, do you want leads or do you want jobs? And they always, every business owner, listen to me right now, everybody, every business owner will try to overcomplicate their business. You don't understand how this operates. Yes, I do. You get traffic, you convert the traffic, you assign the traffic to whoever's doing the job, you make sure the job is done well, you gather feedback. If that feedback can be translated into reviews,
Mm.
referrals, you do it. If it's not, you fix it and then you do it again. That's every business ever. Name one business. You know what I mean? Lawyers. Okay, I have to get people who want to hire me. I have to beat the case. I have to collect their payment information, billing hour. I have to beat the case, and then I have to ask them to do a testimonial. And that's why you see some giant person on a billboard when you're driving down the highway, and they're like, Johnson Johnson and Johnson and Johnson helped me win $800,000 in my, car accident. See it right? If what I'm telling you, Adelina, is foreign, when you come to
Mm.
America, that's all you're going to see on billboards. It's like,
Okay.
it's like,
Look forward to that.
yeah, it's just like a bunch of spam, right? But that's like what that's the whole business flow. It doesn't matter what business there is. You can't buy something that you don't know exists. You can't buy it if there's not some way to have the transaction take place. There's a sales machine and the sales or sales system. The sales system can be a person. Hey, well, let's get you a quote. It can just be a checkout. Amazon, add to cart, checkout. Here's my payment information. It's already saved. Great. Here's my address. Great. So it can be human or machine. Doesn't matter. It's the sales system, right? And
Mm.
then once you buy it, I better get what I paid for, right? Anybody
Mm.
want to just give money and say, hey, I don't want anything back?
Yeah.
Unless you're
But
donating to a nonprofit, which in that case, what you're getting back is usually feel good, right?
mm.
And even then, they do follow up on the fulfillment, right? Because they're telling the kid's story, right? You fed this, kid for, 2 cents a day, even though we asked you for $5 million. Don't ask about where the 400, the 4 million went. Just worry about the 2 cents that we,
Mm.
whatever it is, right? But it's the same every time. And so you take them through that process of like, where are you generating your leads? Like you said, where are you generating your leads? Well, I'm generating from here or there. And here's what's great. Most of them, they're just going to tell you, we get most of our leads from word of mouth. You know what word of mouth is
Mm.
code for?
What's that?
I don't know. It's code for I
Mm.
don't know. Because
Yeah.
you're just saying, oh, well, so and so found me. Okay, but how did you get my number?
Mm.
I looked you up on Google. Okay, so Kyle tells Adelina, Adelina Googles me, finds my GBP, calls me. Okay, so you might have been, your curiosity piqued via word of mouth, but you found me on Google. Or I went to
Mm.
your Facebook, or I went to your TikTok, I went to your LinkedIn, I went to your first link I found, I went to your PPC, I went to, whatever it is. And that's where the tracking comes in. So the attribution, right? So if someone's telling you word of mouth, number one, okay, so it's safe to say you don't have a system set up that tracks where the leads are coming from and what your conversion rate is. I do have a system. Great. What are your numbers? I can't give you my numbers. Then you don't know. There's
Mm.
there's there's no it can't be red and blue at the same time.
Yeah, this guy didn't. Well, when I was asking these questions, like how you kind of teach in your videos, they were so good because the guy actually sat back and he was like, "You're actually making me think now, like that I'm not." And he said he actually admitted it to himself. He was like, "I'm actually not keeping track of like the jobs, you know." And then that's when
They never
like
are.
asking questions, that's when I kind of said to him, you know, what kind of, what's kind of stopping you from moving forward? And he said, well, it's the fact that I feel like I have to do more work. I have to send you work. And I said, what do you mean? And he was like, well, I have to send you like their details and things like that. I said, yeah, but what about the work you put in to send the quote and actually physically go there? He was like, yeah, actually, you're what, you're right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did kind of ask a few questions where it did make him think, but I guess he also said he was like, look, I'm really old school and I just don't want to kind of change systems
Yeah.
and I'm happy with. So yeah, that's how kind of he is. He just
Yeah.
took
So
on
so
he
check
took on
this
this
out.
business. Yeah.
I'm old school. And I'll ask other people, and this is not, Adeline, this is not to push you down because you did a great job, and sometimes you just have tough nuts to crack. You can do everything right. Think about it. The best conversions for salespeople in the world, you're talking about 30 to 40%
Mm,
on average, which
yeah.
means you could do everything right. You could be the best of the best, and you're still, if that were a grade in school, again, I don't know how the English grading system is, but in the US, that's a failing grade. We all know if you got a 30 on a test, I don't know, you're getting a chunklet to the back of the head or something,
Mm.
right? Like, so again, I don't know the grading system in the UK, but it's not good here, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty similar. Yeah.
okay, great. So, yeah, it's not great, but and that's still considered the best of the best, right? So,
Mm.
check this out. You're saying I'm old school. So, I'm going to ask anybody else if you want to volunteer, you can type in the chat or you can come off mute. It's up to you.
I'll do it.
Perfect. When he says I'm old school, what is he really saying?
I
That his
don't want to change.
okay, don't change. And what are the reasons that he might not want to change?
Hmm. Pride, maybe like he's wrong. Like, he don't want to admit to himself that he's been doing it wrong for however many years he's been in business.
Maybe pride.
Yeah.
Jesse said complicated, or he doesn't want the new system to be complicated.
Yeah. Maybe time. He doesn't want to spend time
Great
learning
one.
something new.
Give me everything you guys can think of. Like, I want you guys to pretend like I'm trying to sell you, and it's your mission to not let Alex sell you.
He's embarrassed.
Yeah, embarrassed is a big one. Afraid of change is a big one. And so what you're doing is what I want you to do in the sales process, and I want you to do this with everything that you do within your own businesses too, is I want you to always ask yourself why, right? If you have a kid that's gone through that age where everything is why, right? My daughter is like just now started that age, and I'm instigating it, so she'll do something. I'm like, why do you do that? Because I'm trying to like just get her to go ahead and start asking me why for everything, and because I love it because I probably do it here and I probably annoy my own clients with it. But once you get to the whys, you're just understanding like what is the actual fear. So he's going to say, I'm old school. Now, the standard reply that salespeople might tell you to say, like the knee-jerk reaction is this, ready? Your clients aren't. That's like the knee-jerk reaction. Your clients aren't, right? But that might work. It's not going to work every time because again, when you're making a statement, he's going to defend back and go, "Oh, well, it works for me. My clients like it." Right? And then it's in this, "I'm right. No, you're wrong. I'm right." Right? And then it's just in this, "Yes, no, yes, no." We don't want that. So what we do instead is go, "Okay, when you say you're old school, you don't want to change. Is it that you understand your system really well? Like your system is very easy to use for you because you've mastered it?" He's like, "Yeah, you can't teach an old dog new tricks." Maybe that's what he says, right? I don't want to learn it. That sounds like a lot of time to set up, a lot of process. I got to relearn everything. It sounds like more headache than what it's worth, right?
Mhm.
So then we go again, just questions. So he's saying, again, this is all hypothetical, right? I could be completely wrong. But let's say they say, okay, it's headache and time. Great. So if time were an issue, what he's now doing and what we're going to cover in just a moment with the full, actually, let's just go ahead and do it now because it'll apply better with the sales process. I think I actually have it right here. Yeah. So what you're going to do in your sales process is basically push, pull, their map, your map, habits, anxiety, financials. So let's go through it really quickly and I'll try to have better handwriting this time. Push is why are you on the call? Like, why me? Right? So what I do, let's even back up like just 10 seconds. Rapport. All I do for rapport, this is my little trick I do every single time. Ready? Where are you calling from? And then I make some halfway joke about your sport team, your weather, whatever. Okay. And if you're thinking, oh, you did that to me, sorry. It's just the easiest rapport we can do. It's the easiest thing we can do. Hey, how's the weather over there? Right? It's just easy rapport. And then I can figure out what kind of number one you go to speak. And again, remember, you guys have heard Alex speak. I haven't heard you speak. Your client has heard you speak. If they've watched your content, you haven't heard them speak. So right away, you're going to talk. I'm going to pick up on your accent. I'm going to pick up on your mannerisms, your manner of speech. I'm going to pick up on your tone, your rhythm. I'm going to pick up on maybe your accent reveals where you're from. And then you're going to tell me where you're from. And then I can start making jokes to build rapport. And it can be like, do we have any sports fans? Like anybody who's like a diehard sport fan? No. Yeah, me neither. Uh, let's say you're like, I'm a big, I don't know, Yankees fan, right? And I'm like, bad news, buddy. I'm a Red Sox fan. And then right away, he's like, you know what? We should just end the call right now. Like, it's just joking. It's just banter, right? So this is why business sales, I equate this to the dating world all the time because banter is fun and playful. So I want them to get to that fun and playful stage. Now, where people mess up with rapport is that fun and playful can look different for different people, right? And so being a good salesperson is basically adapting to that person you're talking with, right? So you might talk with somebody who's really quiet. Don't be loud. You might be talking with an Italian American. Bring earmuffs, right? Who knows? So that's where it's like you got to have fun and kind of adapt to it, right? If Adelina is talking about the UK, I can reference parts of Europe that I've been to, right? It's closer to her neck of the woods than mine. Or I can reference, hey, visiting the US, and I can talk about, I've got friends in the UK, I've got agency owners in the UK, I've got, my dad's an immigrant, right? And I can reference that. And then Omar is Latin America. I can talk about my wife is Dominican. My father-in-law is a Dominican immigrant, and we can talk about that and the different culture changes, right? So I can build rapport just by finding either A, some kind of connection, or B, a complete lack thereof. If you think I have to connect with them and I have to overlap, you're going to fail, right? For example, I'm a man, Adeline's a woman. I can joke about the fact that we're completely different, and I can give her credit in saying like, I don't know how you do it, or make a joke about mansplaining. Who knows? All the things that like I can probably assume that the typical female has been through just by being, innately female, right? And then she could probably do the same thing about men, right? Talking about like, oh, there you go, mansplaining, and then we're joking. That wouldn't make sense if I was on a call with Kyle. Like Kyle wouldn't be like, oh, you're mansplaining because we're both dudes, right? So the rapport is just finding like your similarities and your differences and just like getting playful about it and just being curious. And I had a call, I had a not even a call. I was speaking with this guy a few weeks ago, and this man was like old as dirt. And he had traveled like everywhere during his career. And I was like, oh, where are the places where you traveled? We have nothing in similarity. And like I find some of the countries he's been to, and I'm like, oh, what's your favorite country to go to? I just make it about them. That's it. So I had no similarities with this man, so I just make it all about him. What's your favorite country to go to? What do you think had the best cuisine? Wow, that's really cool. Anyways, let's go ahead and I want to respect your time. Let's go ahead and get started. That's a super easy segue, right? And I even say, hey, I want to respect your time, and then have a call after you. That makes you seem like you're busy. The call could be with your grandmother. Who cares? The
A
call
lot
could
of
be with,
people say that. Yeah.
yeah, just be like, hey, I got a call, I got a call after you, so I want to respect your time, right? Next piece you're going to go into is push. Why did you hop on the call? If you know the answer, just restate it and confirm. So like, I appreciate you booking a call. Like, what led you to book a call? Most of what I get is, I saw you on the YouTube, I reached out to you, you're pretty chill. I wanted to hop on and, see this was for me. Cool. Sometimes it's already in the DMs. I already know why they're in. So I have a call like Monday and I already know why the person booked a call, right? Or I called this past Monday, actually. I already know why she booked the call. So I just said, hey, just to confirm, you did this action because of this. Is that right? And she's either going to say you're right or she's going to correct my misunderstanding. But either way, she's going to reflect on the pain that pushed her to book a call. And this is force F1. If you read the book, demand side sales. Basically, instead of supply sided sales, it's demand sided sales. So it's saying, look at the push. A very easy example we can all think of. Anybody ever woken up with a crick in your neck for no reason?
Yeah.
That would might push you to look for a new mattress or pillow, right? So the
Mhm.
push is usually the pain or the current state that they want to get away from. F2 is pull. Why me? Like why Alec, why my offer, why my system, why Kyle, why Greg, why Steph, why Adelina, why Omar, why Jesse, why whomever, right? And then they're going to tell you, these are the things that I like about you, or these are the things I like about your system. What do you think I'm going to cover when I go into my pitch? The thing that they don't like, or the thing that they just told me they're interested in, right? Like, let's say you're on a date with somebody and they're like, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I'm a, I don't know, marine biologist. And they go, oh, that's cool. Do you play any sports? It's like you just move past what I was talking about. Like dig onto that. Like get them to open up about the passion, right? Don't skip that part. Go in there. So like when you go into these things, you want to ask discovery. And again, think like it's a date. It literally is a business date. That's just what networking is. And I equate it to that because so many people, especially the men, this is like I'm talking about the gender nuance in sales, especially the men who are getting into sales, they take it too logically. Why are you on this call? Oh, this is why. Why me? It's like no discovery. They're just like, oh, I checked my boxes. Like, why didn't I close? Whereas usually the female salespeople I work with usually understand that without me even having to say it. They dig into it. They feel like they've checked the box. They want to move a nice segue over. And I usually see that women are better closers, in my opinion. So once you go into the push and pull, what you're then going to do is you're going to go into, I keep writing your because I'm used to like when I'm actually selling to somebody, but you're going into their process. So what is their existing process? And this is where I was talking with Greg about this earlier today, where I was saying when you map out their piece, map out and color code all the action items they're doing that are yellow. So like anytime they're doing something that's manual, document that. And you can show them, okay, this happens, then you ask your client to do one thing, and then that leads into this and this and this. That's a lot of manual tasks, right? So I'm showing them how manual whatever they're doing is, right? And that's going to lead back into the push, right? And I can say, hey, this is probably why you're experiencing these pain points. So now I can assign a villain, and the villain is their existing process. The next piece you go into is uh, your process. Because now what you've done is you've removed the space in their brain where they're saying my process is good. And now they're like, well, my process is not good. There's now a gap that you have to go into, right? We have to fill that gap, which is Adelina's new process or Greg's or Kyle's or Steph's or Omar, whomever's, right?
Hmm.
Now you have to fill the block in with your process. And what you're going to do is you can have this pre-written, pre-created in your flowchart, and it's the same thing as this, but now what you have is you have, instead of all the orange, you have all of the black because now we've automated all these things. And then you go, oh, there's one orange here, and that leads into this. And if you've been on the calls with me before, then I'll go, oh, how many orange squares do you see? And they'll go, 1, 3, 4. And I go, how many black do you see? And they'll be like, a lot. I'm like, yeah, you don't even want to count it because there's so many. That's how much our system's going to do for you. And so they start seeing like they start seeing the transformation, right? Then, and this is where, Adeline, this is where it'll apply to you because I know you're like, this has nothing to do with me so far. Then what you're going to do is you go into F3. I think actually F3 might be, this might actually be F4, but it's one of the forces. I can't remember if it's F4 or F3, but I want to say it's F3. But this will be the habits. So what I'm going to say is, ready?
Hmm.
It's too much of a headache. It's too complicated. What about your existing process do you absolutely love that you don't want to get rid of? And they're going to tell you, I love this part, this part, this part. And what you're going to do is right in front of them, you're going to add it to your map. And you're going to show them how
Okay.
easy it is just to add it to your process. I love, like, for example, I was talking with Kyle the other day and I'm like, hey, what do you want to do with, you want to assign the cleaners to certain tasks? He's like, yeah, I want to do that manually. Okay. So if that's a habit you like, why would I say, Kyle, I know your business better than you. Stop doing that. He's going to be like, what is this bozo doing? I'm going to say, hey, what habit do you like? What practices do you want to keep? He's going to say, well, he's like, I'm okay doing this, but I want to do this and this too. Great. I'm going to add that in there. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. Maybe he's like, this guy's a bumbling idiot, but he's going to feel more comfortable seeing not only is he considering ease of use for me, which we might call UI UX, or I might call just experience in general. But now he's saying, oh, he's also saying, wow, he's considerate of how to make this extremely hyper practical for me and my team. And he's building that into his process. And he just threw it in there like it was nothing. Now I can get off the call and cry, in the closet afterwards, but he's going to see someone who's like, oh, he just added that in, no problem, right? And there's a reason why we do it this order because the final question is this. What about what I've just shown you makes you nervous? Or what about what I've just shown you gives you concern? Why do I do it at this point? Because the next piece I'm going to cover, I'm giving you guys a little sneak peek cheat, are the financials. I want to make sure that when we talk financials, the only objection we have is the money and the cash flow. Everything before the price that I give them is all going to be translated into direct or indirect value. If we have good rapport, you're going to view me as someone that's more trustworthy, more relatable, more human, more enjoyable to talk to. That leads to you viewing me as more of an expert. Not an expert, just more of an expert, right? If I exacerbate the pain that you're dealing with and I really focus on the benefit of working with me, that's going to make you really feel like, the emotions are fresh, they're brought up top. So all the guys, and I see this all the time, all the men who only shop logically, right? That's out the window because we only buy for one reason, improvement. That's it. Somebody tell me the last thing you bought and then tell me how it's not about improvement. I donate to nonprofits. You're doing, in some way, shape, or form, you're doing that to feel better about yourself because your conscience won't let you not donate.
Definitely, yeah.
I bought a cup of coffee. Why? To improve how you feel, be awake, be alert, do a better job. I buy a better bed. Why? To improve my sleep. Everything's improvement, right? It's all improvement. Any optional purchase is typically for improvement, right? So this is all about value. So when people talk about like, and I wouldn't call myself a sales coach. I would say I'm pretty good at sales, but I don't want to say like I'm a sales coach. But when people talk about, oh, it's price versus value, what they fail to communicate, because usually they're just regurgitating stuff they've heard, is this is a value. And if we can sequester, if we can isolate the financials, then I can make sure that if the objection is price, I can beat that down all day, right? So what's going to happen is he's going to tell you all the anxieties that are non-cash related. And for you, Adelina, it was everything but the rev share portion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
throw me some anxieties you had that were just not money related.
So we mentioned the fact that I didn't want to like when he said, "So what are my staff going to do? I could just get them to do this."
So what would
Right.
what would you say his anxiety is over his staff?
Um, I think his anxiety is he's probably thinking to himself, if I'm going to hire you to do this and automate it, and it's going to be hands off, then like what are they going to do, basically? You know?
And why is that bad? I'm going to treat you like a child now, so forgive me for
Yeah,
pushing
yeah,
you.
yeah. No, no,
Why is
that's
that
fine.
bad?
Um, that's bad because he's kind of thinking that, like,
So pause for a second.
yeah.
What you've covered is the external problem. There's always three problems: external, internal, philosophical.
Mm,
External is where the business owner feels like you don't understand my business. I can't fire
mm,
these people. Internally, he has the same emotions you have. There's no difference in emotions. I don't have
mm,
this new emotion called flurg blurg that you've never experienced, right?
mm.
So internally, what does he not want to do to his people?
Uh, Probably doesn't want to kind of maybe like I don't know, maybe he has good rapport with them. He doesn't kind of want to disrespect them by kind of taking away their roles and responsibilities.
So watch this. Why? So Steph said put him out of a job.
Mm,
Um, Greg said replace him. Why?
yeah. I don't
What
know.
Patricia?
See, someone's put guilt. Something,
It's
yeah,
guilt.
that's what, yeah, yeah, like
It's
that's
guilt. He's
kind
gonna
of
feel
what I meant.
guilty.
Like you might have loyalty towards them. Like you
And,
might
and
have
and if
good
you
rapport.
and if you hurt somebody who's loyal to you, what have you done to them? You betrayed them.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
true.
betrayal leads to guilt, right? I sound like we're talking about like the Jedi Council, but
Yeah.
betrayal leads to guilt, right? And then he doesn't want to feel guilty. So we can argue, from a philosophical point of view, that he doesn't want to feel bad. Maybe he's doing that for selfish reasons. I know that if I hurt somebody else, I'm going to feel bad, and I don't like feeling bad, right? So
Mm.
internally, he's going to feel guilt. Now, Adelina, have you ever experienced guilt before?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that crazy how we've all experienced the same emotions, right? But have
Yeah.
you ever experienced firing his team before? No.
No,
This
yeah.
is why the business owner always thinks you don't understand my problems. No, but
Mm.
I can relate to your emotions. Now, the philosophical is how should things be? So his opinion philosophically might be technology, and you always have a should or should not statement. Technology should not put people out of work.
Mm.
Would you say he would agree with that statement?
He would, yeah, because
So
he
how
doesn't
do we
believe. Yeah.
then, here's the question, how do we then add technology without firing his people?
Maybe like automate the small things, the simple things,
Here's what I would
or
do.
just
And I already know the answer because I've been doing this for a while. So I have an unfair advantage. What I would do is I would say, hey, we're not going to fire the team that you have, right? Instead, we're going to give them superpowers because we're going to have a system that runs this with them. So they don't have to worry about skipping bathrooms, skipping lunch, working whatever, going on vacation. They're going to have a system that runs with them. And then you said they've been doing this for a while, right? And he's going to say
mm.
yes, right? I think you told me it was like 8 or 10 years, or am I wrong there?
Oh no, actually, he this business has been running since 1918. So it was
Oh my goodness.
his
Yeah.
grandfather's, then it was his dad. Now he's
Yeah.
taken over it, and he's like nearly 60 or something.
Yeah. So let's say she was born in 1918, right? Maybe not. But even if she were born in 1819, she's not going to be a superhero because she's been doing this whole time, right? Or he or she, the whole team. The team's been doing this for a whole time. So they know what works and what doesn't work. Hey, let's ask them, can you help us evaluate or enhance the system that we're going to build? I don't want them to get fired. We don't want them fired either. We're going to make more money so you can keep them. And we're actually going to need their expertise to really make this work the right way. Because with all due respect to you, they're probably doing more of those conversations than you are. And I would love to pick his or her brain to really perfect the system.
Mm,
And
mm.
do you think that, and again, be harsh, don't be nice because we're on a call. Do you think that would help with that anxiety?
I think so.
And that's the thing. We
But
think, we don't
yeah,
know. He could be
yeah.
like, get out of here.
Mm.
But it would definitely help with the anxiety. So what's another anxiety that maybe he gave you?
Another thing he said was he was like, "Oh, it sounds like a lot of work on my side."
Right.
Because I'm pitching to him that this is going to be automated and it's going to save
Hmm.
him time. But in his mind, he's thinking, well, not really, because I have to go to the trouble of giving you this information.
Yeah. So there's
Um,
two things you do with the time because I see this one a lot too, and other people are going to see this too, right? I got to put my contacts together, whatever. There's two ways to look at
yeah.
time. Number one, I'll do it. Add me to your system, send me pictures, everything. I'll do it. Have a VA do it. You do it yourself, and just take the punch with your first couple of clients to build your case study. Who cares, right?
Mm,
Option number two is um, basically asking them, do you think that if you did it one time, you would save hundreds of hours per month? Because
hmm
if he doesn't go with you and do this, then he's going to have to continuously manually do this his whole time. He's going
mm,
to manually lose bids. He's going to manually have a 0% conversion rate again. He's
mm,
going to manually have contacts he's sitting on. Meanwhile, he's trying to find new contacts because some random person from Fiverr DM'd him and said, "Hey, I'll cold call everybody in New York, like or cold email, like that's even
mm,
feasible, right?"
mm,
So these are the two things. Hey, I'll do it. And number two, even if we do it together or you did it yourself, do you think that if we automated this portion of it, that it would save you hundreds of hours per month?
mm. So this second part, he only has to do it once. Does that mean I'll kind of create an automation? Because obviously his quotes are going to change every single month. So how
Hmm.
does that kind of work?
What you do is the only thing he has to do is from his mobile device, he can just send an invoice. Type in the number, click the client, send it off. What
Mm,
he's missing is not the invoice sending. He's missing the follow-ups.
mm,
So we have the
mm,
automation in the snapshot, right? Where
mm,
the trigger is invoice sent, and then the action is follow up. And we
okay.
do, I do an invoice. I wait 5 minutes within a time of window. So let's say I send the invoice at 1 a.m. We have the window time where we're not going to text them until between the hours of 9 and 5, and it has a 15-minute wait. So whenever I send it, it's going to wait 15 minutes until it's in that time frame. In that time frame, they get a text. An hour later, they get a voicemail drop. That's pre-automated. Then we wait a day. We send them a follow-up text. Hey, is there any reason not to move forward with the quote? Then we wait again. Hey, blah, 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 blah. And you're just doing the follow-up, incessantly until you get a reason why they don't want to move forward.
Oh, okay. Invoice, do you mean quotes? Because invoice is like when they've done the job, right?
So
Is
the
that what you mean?
quote equivalent of what you're saying would be, technically speaking, an estimate.
Estimate, yeah, yeah. So
And
is
I have
that
the
like
exact same thing.
in the US, do you say invoice when you kind of send in a
When you
quote,
go to
like
bill
estimate?
them,
Oh, yeah, like
estimate
that. Yeah,
estimate
yeah.
is like, here's what it could be if you
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
yes.
That's what,
Invoice
yeah.
is like, we've locked it in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Now, quote is probably more synonymous here, unless the other Americans would disagree.
Mm,
Like, I'll get you a quote, I'll get you an estimate.
yeah. Do you guys in the US like do you use this term like
Yeah,
quote
we
or do
say
you use
quote.
estimate?
I would say we say quote more, but estimate is what it's technically called in GHL.
Oh, okay.
So you
Just
go
in
to GHL.
case it was like a foreign language to him or
No, no,
something. I
no,
don't know,
no, you're
something like.
good.
All right, that's
So
good.
estimate is probably more foreign than quote is, I would think. Not
Mm,
even foreign, just more like rarely used. But with the estimate feature, when they send the estimate and we have the follow up, that's already, you already have this in the client 2.0 in that video I was talking to you about today. You already have
mm,
this. We send the estimate. We're
mm.
going to follow up until they accept it or reject it. If they reject it, we ask them why. If they accept it, it automatically sends the invoice, and the invoice automatically has the follow ups.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? I didn't even know, the way you've explained it to me is very good. It's opened up a few ideas in my mind. But when he actually said to me, this is going to take me a lot of time, I instinctively said to him, but you only have to do it once. But, and I was glad that he didn't ask me how, because I don't think I would have known how to explain it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I said once. So, you know, now I can, if we do have another follow-up call, whatever. I would say
Yeah.
like, look, so the way it works is as soon as you send this, blah, 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 this is how the follow-up
Yeah.
works.
And we can mirror the follow up however you want. And then let's say he's stubborn and he goes, well, I don't like the way that you guys follow up. Cool. What we're gonna do is called a split, and we're gonna do your way here, and we're gonna do my way here. Now, if
Mm,
I'm right and I make you a lot of money, are you gonna be upset?
mm. Yeah.
If you're right and we make a lot of money, I promise you I won't be upset. The only time
Yeah.
this is a lose situation is if you say, if we do it my way and we make you money, you're gonna be upset. If he says yes, be like, we can go ahead and end the call right now. Because you're a man child, right? That's ridiculous.
Mm,
And what's funny is the more you do this, you will see people like this. And it's very, in my opinion, like this might sound like, holier than thou, and that's not how I mean it. I truly mean this genuinely. I've seen people who will intentionally sabotage their business for the sake of being right. And my only thought is like, I don't care if you're doing that because you're a horrible person and you've indicated that, but you've got people mouths to feed relying on you that you're now penalizing.
mm, mm,
So this is what I do for the time objection. And if they say things that are like, if they say things that are like alarming to you, this is where we do the opposite of what we would say on a first date. Okay, if I say something crazy on a first date, right? If I'm like, yeah, that was an inside job. I've seen aliens at Area 51, and they don't look like what they tell you. If I start saying some weird stuff on the date, you might be like, oh, and then never call me again, block my number, right? This is where we
true.
differ on the sales call. When they say they might make certain comments, if it's an attitude thing, it's not anxiety, it's not like a genuine concern. Take their objections and make them yours. So, for
Mm,
example, let's say he just keeps mentioning all the ways that you do things and how he doesn't do it. What I would do, because remember, if you read the book Win Without Pitching by Blair Enns, what you learn is this: best option is perfect client says yes. This is the best option. Okay. Best outcome of a sales meeting. Second best option is anyone else says no. Second best option because it's not wasting my time. I can move on. Right. Worst option ever. Anybody ever, date somebody for like a year or two and it just doesn't pan out? That's the biggest that's the biggest time eater ever. Right. It's the maybes. That's the biggest time eater. So if we know we want the perfect client to say yes and anyone else should say no, when they start doing certain things, like he's asking a lot of questions, you can just say this. And again, within degree, within, but you said you started noticing like an attitude, right? Or maybe
Mm,
an arrogance, or right? You
mm,
can take that concern and just voice it. You can say something like, you know what? I completely understand having the questions. One of my concerns is that because you're doubting and questioning things and you're saying that you prefer traffic over conversions, my concern is that you're going to want to do it your way. And because you want to do it your way, you're going to fight me on my way, even if I get it right.
mm,
And I don't want to waste your money. And I'll be honest with you, Bob, Jack, whomever, I'll be honest with you. I would I would hate to waste my time even more than I would hate to waste your money.
mm.
And that's how you're
Yeah.
high status. It's like this transparency of like, listen, like we're gonna waste. I don't want to waste your money, but even more important than that, I don't want to waste my time because I can't
Mm,
get back more time. You can get more money. I can't get my time back. And then what's gonna happen is he's gonna do one of two things. He's either gonna shape up and say you're absolutely right. You know, no, it's not that. I'm just blah blah blah. Or he's gonna say, yeah, you're right. He's either gonna say, I'm sorry, let me correct my attitude. I didn't mean to come off that way. Or he's gonna say, no, you're 100% right. I am gonna fight you. Great. Anyone else says no. Let's end the call right now. I just saved my time.
mm. Yeah. I think it's more to do with ego not being wrong because it's like he was way too relaxed to kind of think about change. He was reluctant to change. Even when I gave him like, you know, the fact that it's like a no-brainer offer, really.
Yeah.
I'm making use of your old dead leads, dead quotes.
Right. He
Um,
doesn't feel the pain enough.
yeah, maybe he didn't feel the pain enough. He was too old school, didn't want to change, didn't want
It
to
doesn't
spend too much
matter.
time.
It doesn't matter. He
Yeah,
didn't feel the pain enough.
yeah,
It doesn't
maybe
matter.
it could be that.
I,
Um,
I, no, 100% is watch. This is what it is every time. This is the formula you want to solve for every single time. This has to be greater. F1 and F2 is what? Push, pull. F3, habit. F4, anxiety. It has to be
mm,
greater every time. Every single
mm.
time. And I did this with Steph a few months ago. What's the last thing that you expensive thing that you purchased?
Is that you're asking me? I thought you
Yeah,
were
or
asking.
anybody. I mean, if anybody wants to say, we can see who's maybe the biggest
Probably a
money
MacBook
waster.
actually.
Great, you said
Yeah.
a MacBook, right?
Mm.
So with a MacBook, why did you buy the MacBook?
Because my old one was too slow.
Too slow. It's a push, right?
Mm.
Now watch this. Why did you buy a MacBook and not a Dell?
Because I already actually had a Dell and I wasn't happy with it.
You're ready to look for a new habit because the push was annoying you.
Mm. Mm.
What was your anxiety about switching from Dell to MacBook?
Because of this was actually a true anxiety because the way it's not as user friendly as a Dell.
So it's the UI, UX, you're worried it's
Yeah,
worse, but you still switched.
yeah. But
Ready?
I know it's reliable. That's the thing. So
And I didn't have to ask her.
there we go.
I didn't have to ask her. She just, so check this out. It was too slow, and the Mac is more reliable. And that outweighed the habit of using, I guess I should change this to, PC plus the UI UX experience of it.
Mm.
Now, what's funny is if you ask um, Steph about switching from an Android to an iPhone, she's going to do this because she likes this too much. So she's not
Mm.
going to make the purchase because F3 and F4 outweigh F1 and F2.
Mm.
She's not going to do that, right?
Hmm.
It's all this equation is like the easiest thing every single time. It's
Yeah.
when you take this mathematical approach, now we understand why you have to address it, and you understand why you have to address it in the order you have to address it in.
Mm. Mm.
And the
But I
reason
guess,
why, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was saying the good thing that kind of came out of it is that he said you've given me a lot to think about. Um,
You
and
planted the
that
seed.
yeah, exactly. So now he's probably thinking in his mind, oh my God, like I'm actually losing here. What am I doing with my leads?
So
Because I,
ready?
I mentioned something which I think you mentioned in your YouTube, one of your videos, and I said like, you are letting a lot of
Yeah.
leads go through the cracks. Like, what are you doing with them? And he was thinking about it. So,
He gives you pushback, but here's the thing. When my wife and I were car shopping, we went and looked at different model vehicles. And she loved the Lexus RX 350 Pearl White. Okay. And I'm like, wow, this is super specific. Never seen this car before. What do you think happened the day after that? I see them everywhere.
oh yeah, it's
I
like the
see them
red car.
everywhere.
It's like the red car theory.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Now,
yeah.
what the Mojo people will tell you is, oh, you have now attracted, physically created your
Yeah,
own gravitational.
manifested it.
No, yeah, if that's you, sorry, I don't believe in that. That's fun. But they believe like, oh, the car. No, what it's called is called your RAS. I'm not even gonna try to pretend like I know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically your subconscious is now recognizing it because you've made space in the brain. Why did you make space in the brain? Why did you buy the new computer? What was the thing? Watch this, ready?
Hmm.
What was the thing that made you realize the moment? There was a moment, there's always a moment that made you realize I need a new computer. I can't do this anymore.
I think I was working on some kind of spreadsheet or something at the time, or watching a YouTube, and it just kept on like jiggering and being too slow. That's when I thought I've had enough now. Like this is
I've had
wait,
enough. The
yeah, I've
pain
had
has
enough.
been enough to where it's now outweighed the habits, anxieties. For me, I got a new computer. I think it was like November, December. I'm trying to edit a video and the whole computer just crashes. Now, for
Mm,
me, that moment wasn't like, the straw that broke the camel's back. It was literally just like the anvil that broke the camel's back, right? One and done kind of thing. It wasn't this, slow leaking bucket. It was just like the whole thing burst loose, right? I'm like, all right, I gotta go get one. So for you, you're
mm,
saying, hey, I had enough. For me, it was like, I have no choice. It doesn't even work, right? But the
mm,
push has to precede the purchase every time. So what's going to happen is he is now going to go around and he might start seeing the RX 350 Pearl White everywhere.
mm,
And he might even start seeing different models of them. Oh, I remember with my wife and I was like, oh, there's a 2022, there's a 2023, there's a 2024, and we started knowing all the differences. There's a 1999 one, right? We start seeing all the different differences, right? This is
mm,
why I recommended the book to you on the in DMs, which is Ultimate Sales Machine. Because what's going
mm.
to happen? You've planted your little seed,
Yeah.
and you're going to want to see that seed sprout. And then, again, you guys know I went to Juilliard, right? And then it starts coming out of the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually it's going to be a whole tree. But what happens too many times is that we plant the seed and we go, where's my big tree? I'm out of here. It's like, let the seed be the seed. Now, the beauty
Mm,
part is if you try to do what other people tell you, which is, oh, no, the seed didn't sprout, move on to the next one. What Alex says is, no, I say, throw your seeds. Throw all your little crops of, I don't know, grass. You guys remember those like Miracle Grow commercials where they had the thing that you just turn and like spit out seeds everywhere? Throw your seeds of grass, of corn, of whatever everywhere. And then, oh, this one's ready. Oh, this one's ready. Oh, this one's ready. That's why you'll have people come to you. I don't want to put them on the spot, but I think Jesse's on the call and Jesse will DM me all the time and just be like, oh, somebody DM me. Somebody DM. He's like, I'm getting inbound leads left and right. And I'm like, yeah, because you're so good at like starting those conversations without forcing the conversation. Imagine you go, oh, well, to grow my seed, to grow my seed into a big tree, I need this much water and this much sunlight over a year. I'm going to condense it into 5 minutes. You would drown and burn the thing, right?
mm,
You're like frying that thing up and then send it on Noah's Ark, basically down the Nile, right? Like you're gone. That thing is, see you later. So that's where people mess up, and that's something I always give Jesse a lot of credit for, which is he doesn't force the sale because he says I'm gonna plant my seed here, and then I'm gonna plant it here, plant it here, plant it here, plant it here. Oh, this one sprouted. Let me come back over here. And he's just getting inbound conversations. And that's what the YouTube videos and everything and the sales call do. So you can follow up with him uh, and basically try to address this and this.
mm, mm,
And so now here's what I will say, because again, it's not going to be 100% conversion rate. The push has to happen. He has to start recognizing the vehicle, the RX 350 Pearl White everywhere. He has to. Okay. He
Mm,
has to. Again, you are not going to look at what pulls you in and your habits and anxieties when you're mattress shopping until you wake up with a crick in the neck.
mm,
Like,
mm.
let me, like, hopefully it's not too personal of a question, but do you sleep pretty well on your mattress?
I do, yeah, because I
Okay.
changed it. That's I had that
There
pain
you
point.
go.
I had that pain
Right.
point a year ago. Yeah, I
All right.
literally
So you
had like
changed it a year ago, right? So now
I had
imagine,
back issues, so I just bought a new one.
and what's funny is what they cover in demand side sales is they cover digging into that question. So that was a year ago, right?
Mm.
Now, how long ago did you buy your computer?
Uh, Probably like a month, 2 months,
Okay,
6 weeks,
perfect.
something like
So the mattress was way older of a purchase, right?
that. Mm.
Now
Yeah,
watch this. It was a year ago, right? About a year ago.
yeah, yeah.
Check this out. What was the exact moment you said, I need a new mattress?
When I had a problem and it wasn't going away, and I knew it was because of the mattress after doing like a lot of research.
Yeah. And do you remember like what day of the week it was?
I think it was a weekend because
And
weekends usually you sleep in a bit more and you can't you get frustrated like this is a weekend I can finally sleep, but you can't.
yeah. Yeah. You're like trying to enjoy your time, right? And then
Yeah,
do you remember? I'd assume it was like morning time because you just woke up.
yeah.
Yeah. And it was not afternoon, which is what you wanted to actually sleep into.
Not I'm not really I don't sleep a lot to be honest with you,
Yeah.
but I like to kind of be a bit more relaxed on the weekend
Mhm.
and not have to rush out.
Do you know if it was a Saturday or a Sunday?
Definitely a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, it was a year ago, and she just told me time of day, day of week. And if you read the book, they go more in depth and they go, do you remember what you were wearing? Like, do you remember? And you don't have to answer this because you were sleeping. So, like, please don't. But, like, do you remember what pajama set you were wearing? Do you remember if, what the sheets were? Do you remember what side of the bed you were sleeping on? And again, she could probably answer a good majority of those questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as the people who sell mattresses, is I'm going to take everything she tells me, and that's going to be my opening copy to really push the push.
Mm,
And so what's going to happen is if I'm constantly in front of you, the moment you experience your own push, who are you going to come to? The people who are speaking to your pain. And that's why I was telling Omar a few weeks ago, when you start your copy, you start with the moment of realization that you need to change things. Because if you look at the buying journey, it always starts with the moment of realization. If I'm like,
mm,
Adelina, tell me about the time that you purchased a mattress. And she goes, well, you see, I was born in the year. And you're like, whoa, too far back, too
mm,
far back. She's
mm,
gonna go right to the moment where she's like, hey, this is what preceded the MOR, right? The
mm,
moment of realization that I need a new mattress. And she just did it
mm,
for us brilliantly. And all I have to do is just probe her as if we're on a business date. And you can see how when I'm asking her very genuinely, or at least it appears so, right? And
mm,
how do I appear genuine? I stumble, I stutter, I misspeak, I break eye contact, I bring eye contact back. I'm just relaxed with it. I don't care how it comes off. That's why I go, oh, do you remember? I'm not even looking at the, but they'll tell you in sales, look at them and be serious and get what you're trying to get and be. I'm just like, oh yeah, do you remember what time of day it was? Oh my goodness, yeah, you're probably trying to sleep in, right? And it feels like
mm,
a natural conversation where Adeline is like, oh, I don't realize that he's actually trying to pull out of me the exact copy he's going to use to sell me the next time I need a new mattress,
mm,
right?
mm,
So the push has to happen. And like if you've been on a call with me recently, I definitely apologize because I referenced like the Squid Games episode a lot. But the it's the big thing where, he says, I've played these games before. If you move after they say don't move, they're gonna eliminate you. Like you
mm,
out. And what does everyone do? Oh ha ha ha, he's crazy, he's whatever. Green light, they run. Red light, someone moves.
mm,
And what do they all do after that? What do we do? Tell us what to do. Wait a minute, did he change his message? Did he say, oh, let me do something different? No, he said the same thing he said, regardless of whether or not they were ready or not to hear his message. What's the difference? The difference is they had a pretty violent push that made them realize we've got to go to him for the source. Now I'm willing to pay attention. If you don't have the push or a painful enough opener, they're not going to pay attention. So you can
mm,
plant the seed and come back to them. So again, he plants the seed. So that way, when someone gets cut, right? Why don't they go to player 455, player 454, player 450. Why don't they go to them? Because 456, that's his player number, tells them this is going to happen. He's planted the seed. Now they might have mocked him and ridiculed him, but they didn't when he was right. And this is why when
Mm,
you're making content, it's so important to have that content. It's so important to have those follow-ups because there's going to come a time when they're ready. And if you're positioned properly, they're going to come right to you.
mm.
That's why
I
it's so
th
important to do it that way.
Yeah, I think his next objection after after you telling me all this, I've just come to the realization that he had already made up his mind. No. So then when we got to the price, and I was thinking like this is a no-brainer, like 30-day free trial. Why
Yeah.
is he still saying no? It's because he had already made up his mind. The pain wasn't big enough, or
Right.
maybe I didn't ask the enough questions. Because yeah, that
No,
was the last thing, like
it's
literally.
always these pieces. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
these
yeah.
pieces. Now,
Yeah, yeah,
once you
yeah.
get through these, then you go to financials. So let's say
Yeah.
he's like, okay, great. What are the numbers? Then you cover the numbers. You cover and I'll show you guys a little trick. I covered in the video, but I'll show you a little trick here where you just show them the exact numbers. And then if he's like, it's not for me, you now know because we even moved on to this second stage, which is really just one piece. You now know it has to be a price cash flow issue. That's it. Because you've
Mm,
already identified everything in the box above it. So if you're like, oh, I absolutely love it. Let's talk numbers. Oh, I'm not interested. It's obviously the numbers
mm, mm,
because that's the only thing that changed, right? So
mm.
when you do numbers, number one, making sure that you only move on to numbers until you handle this. And
So how,
again,
like, how do you know that you've kind of covered everything before moving to the financials? Do you ask something like, some people say you ask them like up to what I've told you now, like how 1 to 10, how willing are you to kind of move forward? I've heard that phrase before.
yeah, that's not a bad one. But what I do is, so what some people do is they'll say, just for context, is they'll say something like 1 to 10, how interested are you working with me? And they'll say, and this will be like somewhere over here, right?
Mm,
They'll say, oh, I'm at a 7. Why are you at a 7? Well, I want this. All that trick is to identify the anxieties.
mm,
9 out of 10, like, how ready are you to work with me out of 10? They go 9 out of 10. Okay, why not 10 out of 10? Well, because insert anxiety, and then you address it,
mm.
right? And then you go into financials. So what you do with financials is typically what I do is once I get through the value portion, they will typically say, okay, how much is it? Or what are we talking about for pricing?
Mm.
Or what does the cost look like? And so what I do is I say X amount, feature, benefit. Now, again, you probably hear this one all the time, so I don't want it to be just, run-of-the-mill generic information. Give them the number up front. What are they getting? Why should they care? So, for example, if I'm like, okay, you work with Alec builds your funnel. Let's say Alec builds your your client sub account, right? It's $1,500. The features that you're gonna get are gonna be, you know, a calculator, calculator. It's gonna be follow. I'm gonna leave follow-ups because I'm doing follow-ups for everything. We're gonna do estimates. We're gonna do invoices. We're gonna make the whole thing automated. We're gonna plug it into your existing CRM. You're gonna have this, let's say, just sticking to data only, you'll have this whole thing within 7 days, and then we're gonna work with you for 30 days to make sure you like it. Basic features, right? What are the benefits? Well, the benefits are for the calculator, you're going to get faster. You're going to be able to capture quotes right then and there. And then you can identify the reason they don't want to work with you or they do want to work with you. And we can perfect your pricing. For the estimates, we're going to make sure that's all hands off. So blah, 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 blah. For the invoices, you don't have to play debt collector. We have automations. It's going to do all this for you. All you have to do is send off the estimate. The system will do the rest. For plugging into your CRM, you don't have to change how your people are already operating. Just make sure you like your CRM because we're going to plug it in there. Make sure they like it because they're going to use it a lot. You're gonna have this whole thing within 7 days. How long do you think it would take you to build out everything in this video that we just covered? How long do you think it would take to cover all these, features I just covered for 15 minutes? And they're gonna be like, oh, well, if I had 2 days, I could probably do it. It's like, do you have 2 days? No, I'm running a business. Great. I'll make sure you have it within 7 days perfected. And then we're gonna make sure that when rubber hits road, you're not on your own screaming, thinking, oh crap, I don't know how to fix this. He screwed me. You're gonna be thinking, hey, I have a problem. Let me tell Alec. Alec fixes it. So basically, in 37 days, you're gonna have a perfected product that is going to save you time nastily increase your conversions. And the beautiful part is once we do that, then you can pump your traffic into the sales machine because now you know my conversions are nasty, my follow up is perfect. I can split test and innovate with the team that I didn't want to fire. And now I can pour as much of this in and I know what traffic sources are doing well. So I can measure my ROI and I can say, hey, Google PPC sucks. Let's can it and go all in on GBP because the GBP numbers are through the roof. Or this Facebook ad is doing really well, this one's not. Or this Facebook ad has a ton of conversions at the form level, but none of them are translating into sales. So now you can understand where to spend your money and not waste a single penny, which is going to give you more money to pay
Mm.
your team. It's going to give you more money to split test and run campaigns and promotions. And it's going to be what really positions you perfect. So again, I've covered this, right? And then what you can do is you can go into a chart, and I have that in the training. What I basically say, so you said, Adelina, you told me, correct me if I'm wrong, his offer was 1.8, so 1,800 to a million.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
check this out. Work against yourself because this is going to further convince them that you're this good, right?
Mm.
What the average guy will say, oh, if we land you $1 million client, they're going to be like, yeah, but what are the odds of that? I'm going to pick the
Mm.
lowest number he gave me.
Mm.
You told me it's 1,800, correct?
Yeah.
Let's say we get you one client at 1,800 minus what's your fee for your software every month, Adelina?
499. Four nine
499.
seven, 499. Yeah.
Let's say 500 because I'm former
Yeah.
Army and I need some easy numbers, okay? So don't embarrass me, please. So that means they're gonna have a $1,300 return if you just get them one client.
Mm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you have to say yes. Why? Because you gave me the number and I picked the lowest
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
Yeah.
say? Oh no, my lowest client is $5. You just told
Mm.
we just had a whole conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You told me your lowest is 1,800. I could have put a million. I could have put 200,000. I could have put, let's go in the middle. I picked the lowest number. So you're telling me at the lowest number, you're going to have a positive return right there. And your whole staff is going to have a system that helps them run their business in less time with less stress. Is that what
Mm.
you're telling me based off of the numbers you gave me? And he has to say yes.
Mm.
Because otherwise he just lied to you the whole conversation.
Mm.
Okay, two clients, 3,600 minus 500, 3,100. Again, we're using the lowest number here. Are
Yeah.
you telling me that we would make you this much money? Would you be upset if we made you that much money? And
Mm.
again, we're not even considering what we're saving in overhead, what we're saving in labor rate, what we're saving even in time spent, what you're saving in leads lost. We're not if you have a CRM that you're replacing, what you're saving on CRM costs. We're not
Mm.
calculating all the things we're saving you money on. We're just covering just this piece. And what's cool is, I always focus on these low numbers, but I always tell the story. I had a client who did DBR. He had 50 contacts, two of them replied. One guy was 12K, one guy was like 34 or 35K.
Wow. That's
Two
probably
clients.
similar to this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you'll find let's say you work with construction guys, you're going to find there's two sales cycles. There's short and there's long. What's going to be long? Long is probably going to be anything north of probably 100,000, maybe 250,000, depending on the region. So this would be 100,000 plus, and short would be anything less than 100K. So what that means is for the longer jobs, there's going to be a longer bidding process.
Mm. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and make you two different pipelines based on the estimates you're sending out, and then we can move them in different pipelines and have different follow-up sequences.
Mm. Yeah.
But even if you're using their lowest numbers, it makes you look good, and look how confident it makes you look.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did say, what if I could get you just one as a test run?
Yeah.
His reply was like, "You're a good salesperson," and he laughed because he knew that was right. But the funny thing is, he managed to get four jobs from cold
Mhm.
emailing. I mean, I'm sure, like I'm actually really sure that his processes are not good enough. So I really do believe that I could get him some more work from the
Yeah.
old
But
lead list.
and this is the benefit of this business model, which is this. Don't turn off cold email marketing, but don't you want to know where your money is actually getting a return? We
Yeah,
can
exactly.
work with the cold email marketer. They push them into the system that we build you, and it's going to convert the leads that they're driving you.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah,
no, they're not getting fired. They're getting amplified.
yeah.
And
You
then
were-
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. No, you just reminded me about the when I did say like one lead, like if I got you one job, he did go on to say like, well, how much is this going to like cost? And I said, well, after the first month, we can go on 10% commission. And
Yeah.
that's when he flipped. He was like, no, no, absolutely not. No, like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah, and so
and I was like,
that's where you know the financials was the problem. So then you
yeah,
can
yeah.
what I would say for you is I would say, let's say you're dealing with construction guys.
Mm,
What I would say for you is I would say you probably want to sit somewhere around 1100 a month.
mm,
And then what you can do for your early adopters, you can tell them this is my actual rate for my first five, it'll be 500 a month.
mm,
Only because I need your feedback. If you're not giving me feedback, you're going to go up to this model or you're going to get fired.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, that
And
sounds quite reasonable, to be honest with you.
yeah, and what you could even say is this, right? It's 1100 a month. Tell me it's too much money. So Adelina, it's 1100 a month.
Mm.
And you say it's too much money.
Yeah, it's too much money. Yeah.
And I say, okay, we can do 500, but I want 5% of everything we close you.
Mm.
So which one would you pick?
The 500.
You'd pick 505%. There you go. And now I'm getting my 5%. So if
Mm,
I close $1 million job, what's 5% of $1 million? It's a very happy Adelina. Don't do the
mm,
math. It's just happy
mm.
Adelina.
Yeah.
What happens if they say, hey, we want 1100? Perfect. I'm getting paid cushion up front.
Mm.
Adelina's happy
Yeah.
with either option.
Yeah, I am. I'm happy with it, either one.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
So it's,
that's what I always do for pricing. I always say, hey, it's this rate. And if they go, I go, oh, we could do this.
I like that actually. I didn't actually think of this before.
Yeah, I always say, oh, we could do this. So you know how people go like, and again, I'll give you the generic ones that they teach you, and I'll give you the ones that Alec did when he realized that those little quick one-liners don't really do anything. So they'll teach you, it's 1100. That's too much. It can be 1500. It's like, okay, insert profane word, right? What I go is I say, hey, I can lower it, but the only way I can justify lowering it is if I take a percent of what I'm making because I have to cut into my margins to pay my team. I can find
Mm.
it cheaper. Go for it.
Yeah.
Hey, and this is what I tell people, I can find it cheaper. If you honestly can find everything we've done cheaper with the kind of hand holding that I'm going to be doing for you, let's say you have no experience, with the kind of hand holding, attention to detail that I'm going to do for you, I would highly encourage you to do that because I've never seen anyone do it. So if you have, jump on that fast. They haven't.
Mm.
They haven't. If you have experience, 100%. If you can find someone who's done the exact same thing that we did for, Patricia over at XY, My Elite Clean, and made her this much money in 2 months, go for it because that is a steal. I'll be the first one to tell you that's a better deal than what I'm giving you. Go for it.
Can I
They're
say
not gonna.
something
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
just triggered me thinking about? I think this was Steve Harvey. I know this is strange, but it was Steve Harvey. And he was talking to one of the girls that was in his show or whatever. And he said, because you just said, he said, well, why are you with him? And she's like, well, because like, I don't think I can, I think he's the best I can get. And he said, but you're looking at it wrong because if he could get better than you're the best he can get. That's why he's
Yeah.
like, if
Mm.
he could get better, he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't take
Right, right.
off. So you're the best he can get. So it's all about like how you position it. Like if he could get better, if he could find somebody to solve this problem, he would be talking to them instead of you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what I do to make that point in a very exaggerative, demonstrative, dramatic way is I go, if you can find someone doing everything I'm doing at that rate, you've got to jump on it. That is a phenomenal deal. Because
Mm.
you're literally giving them permission. Please go take it. And you know what's going to happen? Two things. They either take it and come crawling back, or they just say, no, I just want you because it was a bluff.
Yeah. True.
I had a client. This is a true story. I had a client. I said, if you work with me right now, it was June or early July. I said, if you work with me right now, I said, I'm telling you right now. And he knew this. I worked with him before. I said, listen, I'm telling you right now. Have a good one, Kyle. I said, if you work with me before August, I said, late August, my rates are going up from 6,800 to 10,200. He goes, well, we found someone we think we can do it for a better price. I said, what price? They said 4,200. I said, I can't go that low. If they can do everything I'm doing for 42, go. And he goes, okay, we're going to go. I said, I wish you the best because again, there's that relationship component. He might come back. I'm not going to be like, flick him off, and then and your mother too, right? I'm not going to do that because then he's definitely not coming back. So I go, okay, good. He comes back September. Hey man, it didn't. Hey man, that's what he does. Hey man, I go, hey, how'd it go? It didn't go well. Dang, that's tough. Can you help us? I can, but remember when I told you the price increase went up? Yeah, it went up. That's fine. We'll pay your full rate. Perfect. Same exact scope. 6, 8, 10, 2. Same exact scope. Now, I didn't lie. That's a big thing. I didn't lie and just inflate the price. My prices were going up in August, and I told all my people. So when you do that, let them. And what's going to look more high status? I had somebody DM me, and he goes, he sends me screenshots. People do this all the time. They send me a screenshot. They go, this is what he said. What do I say? And he was like, so he goes, this guy messaged me. He goes, he's a business coach saying, don't, we got to do this first. He's like, should I lower my price to bring him in? I said, no. Because again, think about this in person. Like you've been on a date. Think about he walks away. Adelina, would you get on your hands and knees and start crawling? No, come back to the date.
No,
No,
absolutely not. Yeah.
absolutely not. So I go, maintain posture. I go, okay, if you're going to do, and what they were recommending was to get a team before they increase their sales. So I go, watch this. Don't lower your price because that's what he wanted to do. That was a knee-jerk reaction. Maintain posture, do this. I said, ask him, do you have the funds to pay for a team? The guy goes, I don't. I go, do you feel comfortable knowing that you're going to go to bed at night, unsure of whether you can pay people who are relying on you to feed their families? And he goes, absolutely not. He's like, oh my gosh, just thinking about that gives me anxiety. And he goes, so why would you get the team before you get the sales piece? He goes, I got to talk to my wife. We'll be back in touch with you on Monday. Had a call for Monday. He didn't lower his price at all. And he didn't say, you need this before this. All he said was, do you think that's a good idea? Because they might have said, we think it's a great idea. We think it's a good idea to move after they say red light. Let them. It's not your job to convince them. Right?
Yeah, I love this laid back approach. Usually other people would be like, yeah, just get them, whatever, like do whatever
Yeah.
you have to do.
But you can when you do that, there's a few things. So like there's that whole fake it till you make it. I'm a bad liar and I don't know what to hide and what not to hide. So that's why I put everything on YouTube because I'm like, do I hide this? I'm like, just put it all on YouTube. The right people will come to you and they'll see the value, right? What I do with them is don't lie. Don't fake it till you make it. That's the dumbest thing you can do because then you have to be an actor. You have to be an actress and that's a lot of pressure, right? I'm not Brad Pitt and I definitely don't look like him. Why would I do that to myself, right? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, I don't need the money. Do I want the money? Sure, but I don't need the money. And that's why what I tell people when they come to the program, I had people come to the program and they go, I just quit my job for this. I'm like, no, go back and get a part-time job. Because that like need for the money to sustain your life is going to translate. It's going to not even translate. It's going to seep into your actions and they're going to smell the desperation on you. So if you eliminate that, you can do it. Listen, I was working at Sheets. There's a gas station in the US called Sheets. I was working at Sheets. Gas station attendant closing 5K clients because I had the cash to make sure I didn't need any client to ever boss me around. Did I want to do anything I could to get out of that job? Of course. I felt I had a better job before that. I felt kind of a little humiliated I had to do that. It wasn't a good feeling. Nothing wrong with the job. I just didn't like doing it. But instead of me saying like I need to get out of here, what I did instead was I acted like, listen, I've got money. I don't need you. Not in a, discard them kind of way, but in this like, we're even playing field, right?
That's so true, Yeah, I completely resonate with that. That's so
Well,
true. It's like subconsciously you're just a bit more relaxed.
the business owner has the problem, right? Like they're the bleeding neck with the pain. So they need you. You don't need them. So going back to that date thing that Alec talks about, it's like, I don't need you. And in fact, I did that with this gentleman who's starting this company. He pretty much needs all my services and I have 0 clients and I need money, but he made me wait on he rescheduled last minute, like last maybe 1 minute. Literally, I was starting the call and he said, oops, something came up. And then the next time I was on the call and it was about 8 minutes and I was like getting mad because I was like, at what point do I end this call? Because I want to be there and I get it. Sometimes things come up. So I ended the call and then he would And then I just did not reach out to him, and he reached out to me. Oh, we need to reschedule. We need to reschedule. My point, I just fired him. I just said, no, this isn't going to work out because you're not going to push me around. Like you have the problem. And so now he's reaching out all the time. Like, hey, are we going to get on a call? I'm like, no, because
Yeah.
you're going to try to like big stick me, to put it in
Right.
like
And I'll
you're
tell
jerking
you,
me around.
yeah, and I'll tell you a really sad story actually. You know, I had somebody who this was like 2 years ago, and I did like a little coaching program. And anything I do in SASO, like you guys know this, if you're in SASO, my prices are like deeply discounted for you guys to where like I'm making very little money, if any, or my team is taking most of the money. But I was like, hey, if you're in SASO, you can do this coaching program. It's like you know, it was like a couple $100, right? I think it was like 800 or 900 bucks, something like that. And I go, and this is like to talking to Whiskey's point, where if you have an objection that you're worried they're going to bring up, take their concern or take your concern and voice it. So this guy goes, you know, he owns his own bathroom kitchen remodeling in the UK, and he was an older gentleman, and I told him, I said, listen, my concern is that you're too busy. You're not going to make time for this, and you're going to focus on the business because the business isn't even set up the right way it's supposed to be. And my concern, this is what I told him. I said, my concern is that you will pay me full price for the coaching. You'll come to one call. You'll never show up again because you're too busy. And when you do that, you're going to ask me for your money back. And he goes, no, I'm not going to do that. Remember, you want a yes from a yes and you want a no from the nose. So when I say that, he's going to say, yeah, you're right. I don't like, let's not do it. And I saved him money and me time. Or he's going to further double down and say, no, I can really do it. And then the idea is that he's making time. What happens? He does exactly what Alex said he was going to do because Alec has, you know, I've got bad vision, but I can see into the future, right? And so do you think that he asked me for a refund?
Yep. He did.
No.
Oh, he
He
didn't.
didn't because I
Oh.
said, listen, I'm not
Oh,
going to
yeah.
take you because you're going to ask for a refund. And he said, no, no, I won't. So now he had to pick between I'm out $800 or I violate my word and I embarrass myself.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
And look what you said right here.
Mm.
A few people said it.
Pride.
Listen, there's a few things you can count on, right? The sun is probably going to go up in the morning and a man has pride. That's at least two things I can count on.
Mm.
And again, it's not that I want to do that, but I set the tone of the boundary, and he walked into it, and I tried every week. Are we doing our call? Are we doing our call? Never showed up. But I got paid $800 for one hour call.
Mm.
So like for you, Whiskey, what you can do there is you can say, listen, my concern is that you're gonna stand me
Boys,
up the same
are
way
they
you did the other
clean?
two times. And then when you stand me up, I'm gonna have to waste my time on a call that could have been spent with somebody else. And then he's gonna do one of two things. You're right, or he's gonna definitely not miss that call because he's gonna be embarrassed.
Well, yeah, the approach I took was I just said I'm booked up this year, which is partially true because I'm learning and in courses and launching, my new,
Yeah.
niche and within my niche. But it was just a very because he's had successful businesses before that he's exited, and it was very much like I'll show up when I want and I'll be late. And I was like, kind of took that old, Suits Harvey Specter approach, like, no, I sit meetings because
Yeah,
you have the
right.
problem.
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
pain. Like I
Yeah.
don't have the pain. I'm going to cold call 1,000 of you a month or, whatever it is,
Right,
500 a
right.
day. So you're nothing to me. So you're actually you waste and it made
Yeah.
me mad because I'd prepared and I was like, you wasted my time in preparation. You wasted my time on the call. You made me feel like a fool by like sitting here on a call when I couldn't decide. Like, I still don't know this answer. Maybe you have this. I was like, I guess I could give him 10 minutes, then 15 minutes late. And then I just felt like a little chump, and I was like,
Yeah.
why am I giving
I,
him any minutes?
I'd give him 10 minutes.
And then hang up, right?
I give them 10 minutes and I leave. And if they're like, oh, a minute 11, I'll be like, hey, you got to reschedule.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Yeah, he
had
told
this
me.
exact thing last week, by the way, with someone in the UK. And we had arranged a call at 5, I think it was, or 6.
Mm.
And I was on Zoom. And then I called him, nothing. And I thought, let me call him again. And then there was a point in my mind, I was thinking like, I'm acting like a crazy ex or something, like calling him twice. That's enough.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I just sent a message, and my message was, hi Lewis, I'm on Zoom. I've been waiting here for 20 minutes. Just wondering, is everything okay? That was literally it. And then he quickly called me back and he was like, I'm so sorry, like I had a flat tire. I'm on my way, I promise, I promise.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it
But
was
see,
just
when you do that, right? What I do when I take a concern I have and I voice it as my concern, what you're doing is you're putting the onus of the awkwardness on them. So then
yeah,
he's the one
exactly.
who's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." So what you've done there is because you've maintained your posture, you've remained respectful, but you set your boundary. He has now been perceived as having a lower status, which
Mm,
keeps you as the now. If you lower yourself, where are you? This is unacceptable. You have lost status.
mm, mm.
You have lost status because how you react is a reflection of who you are. It's not a reflection of what they've done, right?
Exactly,
Doesn't mean
yeah.
that you can't
True.
react in a way that sets a boundary, right? But it means that you can't lose character because that's all you have in this game. You lose your character, you're done for. You lose money, you can make more money, but you lose your reputation, that's it. Like you're done, right? And the only reason, by the way, that I do 10 minutes is because I work with digital agency owners who usually have a call before or after me. And so a call might run long. That's it. If you're doing like those in person, if you're doing maybe like something a little bit more close, I would probably say 5 minutes. I even tell my wife, like, when we're driving somewhere, she's like, "Oh no, the GPS says we're gonna be there 2 minutes late." I said, "Let me call him," and I'll call him. Well, I'll call her like nail lady. I'll be like, "Hey, we're running 2 minutes late, but we're in the car." Oh, okay. Because I don't want them to give up my spot. I don't want them to leave. You know what I mean? I don't know how busy it is over there.
Mm.
Oh yeah, what's up, Jake?
All right, quick question for the demo that I've got with one of the prospective guinea pig clients for the product.
Mhm.
Do you recommend pre-framing that, like setting prior expectations before I get on that call with him?
I would
Like
say, yeah, I would say, listen, this is about 80% done. It's modeled around what we have seen most painters do with their business. That being said, I have to adapt it to your process to really make this perfect. That's why you're getting a steal when I tell you the price is this, because I'm going to be eventually charging that. On this call, we're going to look at your process and then we'll adapt it. How does
okay,
that sound?
perfect.
And then they'll
Yeah,
be
I
like,
like that.
cool. Oh, and if you read Ultimate Sales Machine, they talk about this story of this guy closing a huge bank. And he's like a sales consultant, so he's got like thousands of sales stories, and I could listen to him all day. But it's really cool because he talks about closing this bank. He says they're talking to a bank. They're doing the same thing I did to Adelina, which is, instead of asking about her mattress bothering her, they're asking about why they left their, um, I think it was why they left their bank, and they were an engineering firm. I think that's what it was. And they go, well, why'd you leave the bank? And he goes, well, we left the bank because the other bank was trying to mold us into what they do with all their other clients. There was nothing customer tailored, right? And we're making a lot of money, so we're willing to pay a lot of money for the bank. And you'll see this all the time. People are making good money. They're like, I don't want to waste my time. I'll give you money because I'll make more of it, right? That's like your best clients. And so then he goes, well, why'd you pick your next bank? He goes, well, when we picked our next bank, there was three people who came in that we auditioned, right? He goes, guy one came in, they were just a little inexperienced. It wasn't for us. He said guy two came in, he had a whole presentation ready to go. He said guy three came in, he had nothing at all. No presentation ready to go at all. And guess which one closed the deal?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because he brought in a blank piece of paper and said, tell me about your business. And like a really good first date. And the women here, maybe you tell me if I'm wrong, a really good first date is when the guy is basically saying, tell me about you. Like, what do you do? Oh, that's really interesting. What happened there? Do you have a good day? What do you do? Oh, how'd you get into that? Tell me about. And if he's asking a bunch about you, and at some point you realize, my goodness, I've been talking the entire time. Tell me about you. Every time I had a first date where that's how it went, I was like, done. Second deal secured. Second date secured. Every single time. Because you just make it all about them.
That's it, yeah.
That's
Attention.
it. And then the other person, whether it's, whoever you're dating, right? But with my wife, I always tease her about the story. With my wife, she think about you're talking about sales, it's all sales. With my wife, we had a date. It was to go to a Mexican restaurant between our two apartments, right? Virginia Mexican, best Mexican food by far, hands down. If you have a different opinion, that's okay. You can have your opinion, but you're wrong. So we have a date at the restaurant. It's called La Carreta. Last second, she's like, I can't go on the date. I have homework I've got to do. And I know in my head, we were in college at the time. I'm like, I know in my head, you've known what assignments you had. Like, that's not what the real reason is. So what I do is I go, you know what? I don't think that's the real reason. I take the concern and make it mine. I don't think that's the real reason, but I completely understand last second jitters, or maybe I look like something out of Spy Kids, the thumb people. I said we can. You're not supposed to laugh at that. We can reschedule whenever you're ready, right? And then she goes, well, and she starts seeing green flags because I'm not pushing her. I'm not getting upset, right? I don't lower my posture. And she goes, oh, well, let's hop on like we could do maybe a Zoom call or like a FaceTime, right? A FaceTime call, right? I'm too used to saying Zoom. She's like, let's do a FaceTime. Like we can FaceTime. I'm like, cool. I get on the FaceTime. All I do is ask her questions. She talks, I kid you not, from 8 p.m. until midnight. She's just talking nonstop. And all I'm doing is asking questions the whole time. She's talking nonstop. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, it's midnight. I gotta get off of the I think I need to go to bed. I think it's like 1 or 2 a.m. She's like, I gotta go to bed. I'm like, okay. She messaged me the next day. I just realized that I was talking the whole time. I didn't ask you anything. She's like, do you want to go get a snow cone? And like we can and like I want to ask about you. Second date secured like that. All I did was let her talk for 4 hours.
Did you ask
We
about the homework?
no, I knew it was fake. And then she tells me, she's like, yeah, I was nervous last second, whatever. And you know what? Every day since that day, we spent together where I wasn't in the military, when I wasn't doing like military stuff. Every day we could, since that, I mean, that day was 2017. Every day we spent together since. That's all I did was just make it about her. So when the guy comes in, when the bank comes in and says, what's your business? It makes it about them. What do they feel like? They feel like the specialist, prettiest girl at the ball. That's the whole point, right? And if you flip it, if you want to flip it like the gender roles, because again, people think gender is not a big deal in sales. It's everything, just like it's everything in relationships, right? If you're only interested in women, you're not going to go on a date with a man, right? It wouldn't make sense, right? And vice versa. What happens if you're the female talking to the guy? The guy, if you just ask him a bunch of questions, just like women like to open up about their day, what happens when a man does it? Maybe he's like mansplaining his business process. Who cares? Get him yapping, get him talking, and he's going to feel good about himself, and you're going to act all halfway impressed. And he's going to be like, well, yeah, that was a great sales meeting. Yeah, because you just talk about yourself the whole time. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's the
mm.
same thing every time. It's just mansplaining when a man does it. And when a woman does it, it's just talking about maybe opening up, right? It's the same thing. It's just different words for different genders. And it works the same every single time because they feel like he feels like the stud. She feels like the prettiest girl at the ball. He feels like the killer salesperson. She feels like the lady who can close anybody, even the ones that the guys can't, right? It doesn't matter. It's the same outcome. And it just works too well. But we'll go ahead and start wrapping up soon. Stay on like a few more, like 2 more minutes. Do we have any other questions or topics you want to quickly cover before we wrap up?
Alec, I just had one small thing that I forgot to ask.
Yeah,
When you guys do sales calls, do you record them? Because I use Fathom.
I
Do you
record
guys,
them.
yeah?
I
And
record
like,
them, and what I do is I tell them it's for quality and training purposes, like very cliche. That's fine. If they say, "Hey, I
okay.
would rather you not record it," we don't record it. Now, the benefit, if you're doing the blueprint call, right? If you're saying, "Hey, we're going to map out your business and what you're doing and what you're not doing," the benefit is that they're going to want to actually have you record it because you're going to send that to them, and then they can see all the things that you created.
That's like,
So
Fathom.ai?
yeah, the
Yeah.
AI listening, like
Yeah.
yeah,
So
transcripting.
it automatically sends them like the next steps and blah blah blah. But with this guy, as soon as he saw that today, he was like, "Is this being recorded? Like, can you just take it off? Like, I don't really."
One thing you can do, and I
So,
have this on my kickoff calls, I say, "Do you want me to record our call?" And it says, "Yes, I do. Yes, you may record our call." Or I say, "No, I do not," all caps, "want you to record the call." And then when I
mm.
hop in, remember you get that, if you're using my system, you
Oh
get
yeah,
that email and it says, "Hey, here's all the information." It says, "No, don't record." Before somebody hops in the call, I turn off the recording.
right, okay, yeah,
It just starts you off on the right foot, in my opinion.
yeah. I didn't think it was a big problem, but this guy like freaked out.
For the older crowd, you're gonna see that.
Yeah,
For
I
anybody
guess so.
who's in the tech space, they don't care. Like
Mm,
how many
true.
videos you see of somebody who's like, "You're not allowed to record me in public." It's like,
Yeah.
I'm recording my kid. Once when we moved down to Florida, we went downtown and there's this like beautiful like little city center, and this lady was there's a lot of tourists, and this lady's like taking pictures of these buildings, and there's this random man who's like under the buildings, right? She's pointing the camera like this, and he's
Mm.
like, "Don't take my picture," and starts like flicking her off, and I'm like, "Dude, he's not taking it." You know, she was like, "Who cares?" Like the security cameras take your picture all day, but some
Yeah,
people just get
exactly.
awkward.
Yeah, yeah.
Patricia asked, "You have a question about paid referrals for new employees and new clients? Is that like a sales commission if they bring them in?"
Yeah. So like if they get they get a bonus or whatever. And I know you can set it up. I watched a video. I just didn't know if you had one. I did watch your rewards one, but I don't want to do it that way. I don't
Yeah.
want to give rewards. I just want to clean, um, like you bring me an employee at 90 days, you get $500 or whatever.
So what you'll find, this is what I'll cover with referrals because referrals are such a unique beast in my opinion. And Hacking Growth with Sean Ellis, that's a book I've been reading recently, and I've been talking about recently. They cover this a little bit too, but not as directly as I'm going to say it here. In my opinion, a lot of people, I'm not gonna say everybody, a lot of people get referrals wrong. A lot. Because we think they will do it for the money. It's like
Oh, sure, for sure. Yeah.
that's what we always think. And what's
Yeah.
interesting is in Hacking Growth, what they found is actually no, they would rather the reward correlate better to the business. So for example, Dropbox, most people know Dropbox, right? What they found is that cash rewards did nothing. Instead, they looked at the user metrics and they found that at 256 gigs of free data to upload or free storage, that's what was enticing people to invite their friends because they were already using it for data. So now we can give you free data when you invite other people. So they're like, oh, yeah, I'm already using it. And who are they going to invite? They're going to invite other people who are also using it for data, which means those people are going to do the same thing. And so in
So
Hacking
it
Growth, what
depends
they
on how
cover
they're
is,
motivated, right? Is that what you're
but
saying?
how they're motivated is correlated to how they're using the system.
Mm.
So you might be able to warrant cash prizes for your staff because they're
Okay.
already dealing with, hey, I'm already closing people. I want to get paid for my efforts. Now, the people who are coming to you to get cleans, they're not coming to you for cash. They're coming to you for cleans. So if they are then sent free clean rewards, hey, when you send us somebody, you get a clean at half off. That's why they came to you. So that might be more enticing.
Okay. But for
And
the
so
employees, they do like the cash actually.
yes,
How
because
would
that's
I
why they
set?
came to you because you
Mhm.
employ them.
Yes.
So they come to you to get paid, pay them more. The people who came to you for clean, clean more, clean free.
Hmm.
And then you can look at your data as you go and you can refine that. But you can even ask your people. I used to do this all the time. Hey, if we do, and you know what's funny? This is what's so weird to me because I'm very cash motivated. We had people who were like, I would rather you do a pizza party for us than pay me. I'm like, what? Because I'm the guy who hates pizza parties. I'm like, give me the cash you spent on the pizza.
Yeah. So one
But
of the
they,
things the reason I want to do it this way is because one of the things I found out when I went to the convention in October was
mhm,
that um one of the things that we're all struggling with in the cleaning business is that we don't have enough employees, right? We can't hire enough people, right?
yeah,
And so um what happened was we all kind of like collaborated, and then there was a guy who said that what was working for him was that what he does is he tracks it, but at 30 days they get $100, and he brings like stacks of hundreds and he
hmm
pays you out. So whatever employees you've had, like if you brought in two people and one is at 30 and one is at 90, you're going to leave with your
yeah,
$400, $100. And so they're giving, and so then everybody wants a piece of the pie because they're seeing this hard, cold cash coming out. So,
yeah.
and I did see a video, like I told you, I found a guy, I watched the video. This is not me kissing your ass either.
No,
Like
no, no.
I like his video and I'd be happy to send it to you,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I always like the ideas you have that you can add to it. So that's kind of why I was wondering if you had something
yeah.
already.
So and what I do for referrals is I like Hacking Growth is such a good read for the referrals because it's all about how to get other people to make something grow without the traditional marketing silos of paid advertisement, SEO, yada yada yada. What
Mhm.
I would say is like even with the guy who's paying handing out the hundreds, what he might be leaving out, and this is why it's so important to approach everything like a scientific hypothesis, which is this is what I hypothesize, this is the test, let's test it and see what the conclusion is because of this, right? So this is the story I've heard with incentivizing the wrong things. This is like a very cliche economics story.
Mhm.
And so they had this is down in Mexico. I can't remember how long ago, but they had a scorpion infestation. And so they said, listen, we've got to get rid of the scorpions. Let's pay people to collect scorpions and bring them in because we're going to relocate them. We don't necessarily want to kill them, right?
Mhm.
What do you think happened when they started paying people to bring the scorpions into their location, into their animal rescue, whatever?
Nothing.
Do you think the population went down? Do you think it went up? Do you think like anything? Anybody can
Well,
answer too if
I
you guys
mean,
think.
personally, I think nothing happened because I'm not going to do anything with the scorpion, not even for money.
Right.
So,
Let's say it was the right amount of money for you to go catch a
okay.
scorpion.
The population went down. People brought them in.
Perfect. So that was the intended direct outcome. Now, what
Mhm.
economics will tell you is that there are unintended outcomes and there are what we call intentional, which is what they want to have happen, and there's unintended, unintentional, which is things that we did not mean for happen that were not good. So what
Okay.
actually happened was that the animal rescue got zero scorpions and the hospital got a ton of new patients
Oh, okay.
because they incentivized interacting with scorpions, and there's a direct correlation between interacting with them and getting stung.
Okay.
So now here's the question, and this is a question that I can't answer for you, and this is a question that only your specific employees can answer,
Okay.
which is this. If I give you money to get more deals, my intentional intended consequence or outcome is that you're going to get me more deals. Could, this is Alec thinking to just protect you, could an unintentional consequence be that they're rushing through their jobs to get to the part that makes them more variable cash income? So now could the quality of clean now drop? Because they're trying to get to
Um,
more jobs in a day, or they're trying to go have more interactions and sales conversations a day because you've assigned the fulfillment team to also do the sales team.
no, because I only want them to send me, I only want them to send me, what I'm asking for referrals for is employee referrals. You got a good friend, you know people who are real hard
Mhm.
workers. You see someone, refer them, bring them on. Let's bring them.
Okay, then that would probably be a safer route then. And
Okay.
that's why I wanted to ask you that question because I wanted to make sure that the unintentional consequence didn't come to light.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. Yeah, agreed. I agree with where you were going. Yeah, that's not going
Yeah.
to be an issue because it's just employees.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. If they're just sending that information, then that's good.
yeah. And so that's why I said like the video that I watched, it's really good. I just kind of wanted your stamp of approval. That's how I would do it, or I would add XYZ or
In
something.
my opinion, the referrals are, and this is like probably is not what you or most people are expecting. In my opinion, the referrals are the hardest piece to solve for
Okay.
by far. Everybody thinks everybody's going to want more money.
Hmm.
And it's shocking to me because most of us are here because of that. It's almost never the answer,
Okay.
which is very surprising to me.
But
But
but aside from that, you still believe that it can be built in, do you believe that we can build it in high level?
Oh yeah, you can, and anything you can't, who cares? But yeah, you can build that in a high
Yeah.
level. They
Okay.
fill out a form where it's tied to them, and they send in referral's name, which creates a new contact, and then that initiates a follow-up sequence because they have, yeah, you could probably build that out. It'd be some
Okay.
testing, but before you automate, simplify, and simplify requires that you establish it that it works. So if you incentivize them and it works, then build it out. If you build it out and you say, hey, let's try it, and it goes nowhere, you just wasted who knows how much time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of clients, if you're asking clients for a referral, right? Like
Give them what they
Jones, we
came to you
clean her
for.
house once a month and I want a referral from her, that your reward thing you feel like would work better.
I think so because I want to give people what they came to me for. Like, imagine if I was like, "Hey guys, if you participate in Say So, I'm going to, you know, send flowers to your place or send you a new Xbox or whatever." You're like, "What does that have to do with anything?" Or I can even ask you, "Would you rather me send you $100 to cover your fee for the month, $500 to cover your fee for the month, or would you rather that I build out your entire snapshot?"
Snapshot.
Because that's what you came to me for.
Yeah. Okay.
And you might have some people who go, "Alec, my snapshot is banger. Send me that money," and I'm just gonna ask.
Well, the first time I bring you someone, I'm gonna do the snapshot. The second time, I'm gonna be like, bring me
And
the
so
money.
and so what you can say is you can say, hey, you can pick. Do you want a half off clean or do you want some cash? You can literally ask them like, what do you guys want? And that's one thing where I think the men are a little bit easier than women, which is just ask a man what he wants, he's gonna tell you.
Yeah.
My wife is very, I'm very fortunate that she's that way, but I've dated girls who are like, you should know me well enough. And I'm like, oh no, the trap. This is a
Yeah.
trap. Is
You're
that scene
supposed
from
to
Star
read
Wars?
minds.
Yeah, it's a
No, I,
trap.
I,
Like the,
I'm like your wife, right? Probably because
The
we're,
beginning of the end.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's the
It's
downfall.
the
Yeah, like
beginning of the end. Yeah. I tell it how it is. This is what I want. I don't even
there you
know.
go. Yeah.
I've been married like 23 years. I don't even know. Maybe it's 24. I don't know, refer to God. But for the first all of our years of marriage, I bought my own Christmas gifts and birthday gifts because I want to get what I want. I don't want to pretend like you got me something good. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you what you bought me for my birthday and my Christmas and my
There you go.
Valentine.
There you go. And some people
I'm
hear
a
that.
le-
Some people
yeah.
hear that and they'll be like, that's so unromantic. And some guys will hear that and they'll be like, why? Why couldn't she be like Patricia?
Yeah, no, I'm
Like,
good.
Not 90%.
Yeah.
yeah, and
90% are probably
Yeah.
thinking that.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
and this
let
is
you
why
stick to the cards and the flowers if you want
the
to.
small holidays, give them the small
Yeah, and
presents.
that the
Yeah.
small things. I ain't gonna make you think too hard, and then the rest of
Yeah.
it is gonna be whatever I want. I'm just gonna tell you how much you spent and how much what it
There
was.
you go. And
Yeah,
what I that's why the joke I made before was like it's like wife swap, right? Like if Patricia and my wife swap positions, Patricia's probably gonna be ready to kill me within a week because she's gonna be like, "Don't do that chore. You mess it up. You didn't do the way I wanted it." And I'm gonna be like, "Patricia, you didn't. I don't like this for dinner. Or I like this meal. And actually, hey, let me cook." And Patricia's like, "Get out of my kitchen." Right? Who knows? I don't know. That's the
yeah,
beauty of niching down by a sub community, which is you now know who your partner is, and you can now work around all the things you like and dislike about them. All the
yeah,
things that, Patricia could probably tell us all the stories of gross things her husband's done, and he could probably embarrass her with some, gross stories too. But you guys still love each other, right? That's the beauty of niching down. It's like you've seen the ugly side and you love
yeah.
them anyway, or you at least love them enough, pull to deal with
It's
the
too
scary
late now.
things,
I'm
the
not
anxiety. Yeah,
starting
you're
over.
locked in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'm
guys
locked
have enough
in.
blackmail on each other
Yeah,
for, yeah.
yeah. We're like we always say like I'm 51. I'm single life. I'm dating. I'm not even thinking about the dating game. Like I'm not thinking about being out there.
It's
It's
too
like
long to what is it? It's too long to train them again, right? You can't train a new
yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's a
You
lot
just
of
got
work.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, but with the referral game, it's all about like there's a great again, it's called hacking growth, and it's really interesting because it's not only focused on referrals, but it's heavily oriented around that, and it's
Hmm.
so interesting to see because I'm very cash motivated.
Yeah.
I'm very
Not
I like
everybody is though, and that's why
yeah.
everybody's a little different. To be not to be funny, I actually just started that because I have to go pick up my son today, and I started that actual book. Today is the first day I started it.
It's such a good read. It's
Yeah,
such a good one
Is
yeah.
that the
because you know
growth hack book? Oh, no,
hacking
hacking growth. Yeah,
by
yeah.
Sean Ellis. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let me grab
Have you
Whiskey's
started
question.
your book
My
list?
book
Like
list. I'm
where
gonna give you some today. That's what I was about to do. But let me grab Whiskey's question, and I'll give you my top books that I would read.
make us poor.
There you go.
Oh, all I was going to say is if you do the cash route though, it's interesting because I was just spending about a month studying the accounting niche before I kind of
Mm,
put that on the back burner. They said, there's a shortage of accountants. They just can't find, skilled accountants. People aren't wanting to get into the industry. And so they
mhm.
said, but you have a firm, the partners look at the books and, they really need, they got five, clients or accounts they could take on, but they don't have anybody. So they go to their their staff, their junior staff, and they're like, hey, everybody, we'll give you $1,000 for a referral. And one thing he learned about giving cash bonuses was if you're going to do that, like why $1,000? Like why not 30,000? Like you're going to
Mhm.
get $1 million book of business and you're coming at your entire staff who are accountants and get it. And they're going to be like, even if they were money motivated, it's like, I don't know. That's just, it kind of feels like a lot of extra stuff for a grant. Like, I don't need a grant
Yeah,
or I
right,
get
right.
paid really well here. It's like, make it 30,000 because you're going to look at it on return. So it's,
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
that's one of the things they cover in Sales Machine, which is one of my favorite stories in there. He goes, we go to a client. They are an I think they work with they're an OEM, they're an original equipment manufacturer. He goes, we have I think it's like 65 clients. We have 65 clients. One client, see it, Jesse. One client goes, um, he goes, one client makes us 100 million. The other 64 combined make us less than 10 million, right? So classic Pareto's law, 80-20, right? One client makes 100 million, other 64 together, 10 million. He goes, now look at our costs. 80% of our costs go to handling the 64 clients that total less than 10 million because we have the management and we have the structure. He's like, so what we're going to do is we're going to fire all 64 clients and we're going to keep the one. Right away, their cash like quadrupled because they just got rid of all the all the infrastructure needed to do that. Then he goes, let's make a list of one other client we want just like this person. So they go out and they look for one other OEM one other client for their OEM, whatever. And they're like, this client is 300 million if we land them. Something like, I've got the numbers wrong, but let's just say it's another 100 million. I think it's more, but let's just say it's the same, right? So with the same fee, if we can double the revenue, he's like, it's 100 million. He's like, now check this out. If you know that this client's worth 100 million, do you care about cost per click? Do you care about client acquisition cost? Do you care about click-through rate? No, you care about closing. So they basically cover all of the ridiculous things they've done to close these huge clients. And one of them one of the stories he says is they set up an expo all for one client. They set up a whole expo. Like think about like think about this from a dating point of view. We threw a party just to make sure she would show up. We all heard that story before, right? I threw a whole party hoping the dream girl would show up. They threw a whole expo hoping the dream client would show up. Then they do an after party where they're hoping the dream client would go. And then they're building a relationship to close the dream client. But basically what he says is down the road, he says it's a $100 million client. He said, we had no problem shelling out $50,000 to close this client. Because that's a disgusting return. And that's 100 million a year, by the way. 50 grand into 100 million, much less every year. He's like, that's a disgusting return. He's like, go for it. So yeah, knowing the numbers is important. And I'll use that to give you guys my top books, and then we'll sign off. But the number one book, first book I would read, and I'm not going to go in order of like my favorite to least favorite. I'm going to go in order chronologically of what I would recommend. First book I would read is called The Compound Effect. It's Compound Effect, and I'll pull them off the shelf so you can see them and recognize them. This has not too much to do with business. It's more so about the organizational structure within how you maintain your time. Show up every day and do the work. I would recommend reading this one first before anything else, because so many people love to come. I was talking to, Greg and I were talking about this earlier today. Some people come in, they go, I want to scale. I want to scale. I want to scale. You're not ready. You still got training wheels on, right? You take training wheels down a big hill, you're going to bust your tail, right? So get structured, get organized every day. What's the first video you have in SASO? Accountability, get structured, get organized. Why? Because if you're not doing it every day, I don't care what you're doing. I'm really fat. I'm really skinny. Are you eating right? Yeah, track it. Show it to me. Oh, I'm not. When I was in the military, all the time. When I was in the military, I went from 120 pounds, I kid you not, 120 pounds to 210 pounds in a year. Like 90-pound jump. You know how I did it? I tracked my calories, I ate like a pig, and I went to the gym. And then I have guys coming to me, I eat more food than you probably do. No, you don't. How do I know? Because look at you and look at me. It's not to put you down. I can literally see you're not eating enough, right? But so when they start tracking, getting organized, doing the work every day, eating the big meals every day, going to the gym every day, what happens? All of a sudden, now you've got the body you want to have. When you do that with your business, how do you think that compounds? I had a client who was like kind of, dilly-dallying his time. I said, we're not going to have another call until you do what I've told you to do. Right away, I start seeing him posting everything he needs to post. He starts tracking it. Oh, I'm getting conversations. He hasn't had a conversation. He hasn't had a lead call in like 5 months. Oh, I'm getting conversations. Yeah, because you're finally doing what I told you to stink and do. So that would be our first book chronologically. Read that one. Second book, these are all business oriented, so I don't have to go into them. Win Without Pitching Manifesto. It's very short. So you're going to feel like, wow, I read a book really quickly. So you're going to feel really cool. It's all about posture. So Adelina, you would love this one because it kind of like will put into context what we were just talking about.
What is it? Oh,
Win
what is it
Without
called?
Pitching.
Win Without Pitching. Okay.
Yeah, and it looks very creepy, but it's a phenomenal book. Basically says everything I was talking about with the objection handling. Take the objections, make them your own. So I'd read that next because now you're organized and the leads you're talking to, you're not being a wimp and you're not being too cowardly because you have permission and how to have permission even when you don't have experience. You're not being rude, Please don't
Mm.
conflate confidence with
No, no.
arrogance, right?
Mm.
The next two books I would read, doesn't matter the order, Built to Sell, when E-Myth Revisited. Built to Sell, if you have an agency and you're refusing to niche down, and right away I said that, and people are like, oh, run away. This will cover why you need to niche down, not only in who you serve, but in what you serve them with. And it covers all the numbers and it tells it in a very narrative format, so it's not boring to follow. So this is for you, okay, for your agency. This is for your clients. Your business, your client's business. E-Myth Revisited is the exact same thing, but it's systemizing and scaling in a brick and mortar, right? So if you're like, how do I scale my agency, or how do I set up my agency? How do I help my clients and help them realize that they've got to build systems that they can leave? So these are two phenomenal books. I'll reference those all the time. And we've got two more or three more. Sorry. This one is next. Demand side sales. 99%. If
It's
you have a
not
good
on
product,
audio, is it? Because I don't feel like I was able to find it.
I don't know if it is or isn't. I always get the hard copy, but demand side sales will tell you to stop thinking you know what they want and just ask them. This, Adelina, is where I got that whole script of Adelina, what were you wearing that day? And what day was it? And what time? That's what they do. And then
Mm.
you take that copy and you use it against them.
Mm.
It's Saturday
Okay.
morning. You've woken up with a crick in your neck, but you're supposed to be sleeping.
Mm.
How frustrating is it? You can't even enjoy your day off. You need a new mattress. The moment you experience that, you're coming to me. So demand side sales, phenomenal for, it's not exactly copywriting, but it's more so the sales process.
Mm.
The next book, Ultimate Sales Machine. Love this book. If you think Alec is specific on like niche down, they say name your people by name. They say you don't work with construction companies. I want names. What 100 customers do you want? And then how to get those 100 customers. They're specific. They're like, don't say you want to date, this type of person. Who? Who do you want to pursue? Go pursue them. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. And the last one, and this is probably the most dense, hard to get through book, 80/20.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Every book you read will reference this. My mom sent me a book because she loves the business stuff. She sends me a book. I literally grab the book and I open it at a random page. And what is the first line? This is what we see in the 80/20 Pareto's principle. And I'm like, every business book ever will reference this. When they talk about that story where in Ultimate Sales Machine, the 64 clients and the one that was really good, he said, we did an 80/20 evaluation and we found that the top 20% or the top 80% of income was from one client.
I have that book, but it's specific to 80/20 sales and marketing. Does that say the same thing? Or is it just the
No.
principle?
Secret to Achieving More with Less. Third edition, 80/20 principle with Richard
Okay.
Koch or Koch. I don't know. It's Koch.
Mm.
I always say Koch. If it's
80/20
wrong,
principle.
let the guy send me a message.
So these are, Alec, these are mostly about sales, right? Like
So
it's not like
compound,
systems or anything like that. I think there was just one of them that was.
so compound effect, structure your day. Win without pitching, posture and status. Built to sell is literally the structure of your organization if you're already a built company, but you're not niche down. So it's like, hey, niche down. Here's how to transition over. Here's how to train your team. Here's how to get your team to buy in as much as you want. And here's how you can build the business to sell it.
Mm.
E-Myth Revisited, if you want to consult your people and say things that make them think, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about and he's never done this a day in his life, E-Myth Revisited. Because it'll
Mm.
show you how to then talk to your people. Demand side sales, now we're going into the branding and the copy and the sales story. Ultimate Sales Machine, now we're talking about getting the actual people you want to get. 80/20 translates to absolutely every single book that I've mentioned. Every book I've ever read on business mentions this book.
Mm. Yeah.
Two things, Alec. The win without pitching, is that a manifesto? Is that Blair ends?
Blair ends, yeah.
Okay. And then oh shit, I'm old. What was I gonna just say now? Oh, have you had a chance to read the new Donald Miller book
I
yet?
haven't. I've got, so every book you see that's now fallen over, I've read.
Okay.
Every book you see that's down here, is in my order of what I'm reading next.
Okay, when you read it, I'm be interested to know if you feel like it correlates like very closely to E-Myth. Except for I like it better. But I don't know.
Okay, no, that'd be a good read. Yeah, I might have to replace it. But what's funny is what I do, like the way I found really good books is not because I have this like skill or detector. This is literally what I did. I saw an Instagram video. I think it was Ryan. No, it wasn't Ryan Panetta. It was Asian guy shaves his head, branding guy.
Brandon Lucero.
No,
Future.
Future. Yeah, Future.
Yeah.
Futur, no E. And he goes, "Oh, here are my top books to read." And I bought every book he mentioned. The book that I love the most, every author will reference other books. So every book that he referenced in his book, I then went and bought every book that he referenced in that book. And then every book that those books referenced, I would get them because if I like his book, I'm gonna like the books he's referencing. And if I like the book he's referencing, I'm gonna like the book that they're referencing. And that's how I found every book that I've absolutely ever loved.
The
And that's
power of
why
What's his name?
referrals.
it was Future Futur. And that's why, like, again, when I started noticing every single book referenced this one, I was like, okay, this is my next read. I read like 4 books back to back in like 80/20, 80/20, 80/20. I'm like, what the heck?
Thank gosh, I wish I could do that.
And mind you, I have a business degree. Do you think we read this book?
No.
No. I have an entire degree. We didn't read that book once. This book right there has enough to like change your entire life. And that sounds corny, but it's true. It's so true. Let's say you have a really bad diet. If you track your diet, I guarantee you 80% of your bad diet decisions are coming from 20% of the food you're eating. So for me, I was like, oh, I'm drinking too much soda. Switch to diet soda. I lose 10 pounds. Perfect. I can enjoy my soda. It tastes a little different. I don't care. Lose 10 pounds. All I did was reading this book. Let's say you're sad all the time. What's triggering the sadness? Identify your sad islands and then avoid them.
He said identify your sad islands.
Yeah, he calls them
Have you
sad and
been
happy
watching
islands.
Inside Out?
No, oh no, yeah, but he literally calls them happy inside islands.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. He's like, if you find what makes you happy and you're on happy island, do more of that. Oh, look, I'm now happier and I'm less sad. Who would have known doing the things that make me happy? But now what the beauty of this book, if you read one business book, it'd be this one. The beauty of this book is this. Everything is unintentionally imbalanced. Everything. So if you are intentionally paying attention, you can intentionally balance everything the way you want it to be. That's it. You are unhappy a lot because you're unintentional about your happiness. When you track it, you're going to find that 80% of what makes you sad is coming from 20% of the things. Remove the 20% of the things, you're now 80% less sad. Because you were unintentional about how you manage your day, you are imbalanced. Now that you're intentional, you're balanced. That's the whole concept behind the book.
I'm surprised. Alec, have you read Show Your Work?
I haven't, but I've heard that one referenced a few times.
Yeah, apparently that one, and I've read that one. I thought it was great. I don't do
Yeah.
it, but you're doing it. Is what is what I'm saying. You're kind of like your entire program, course, YouTube channel is kind of like, just as you go, showing, like you said, you're building your YouTube and
Oh yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
page. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. And then like he wrote the other one, how to steal like an artist. He's like, just find somebody doing something that you want to do, and don't copy, but expand on it, build on it, draw inspiration from it, and
Mhm.
and do it.
Yeah, I'll say this and then we'll log off because we've been on for like 2 hours. But here's what I do. I say, uh, when you put something out there, it's no longer yours. So I tell people because I do this, and other people tell me to do this. Steal it, give credit to where it came from. As you do it, you're gonna find a better way to do it that's more aligned with who you are. That becomes your method, and then put it back out in the world and do it again. That's it. And what's going to happen is there's going to come a point where you've stolen all the ideas from everybody else. And the only way you can find new ideas is by collecting your own data. You are now at the top of the waterfall. And now you're putting out your own firsthand data and you're inspiring other people to take it and make it their own. Like the
Yeah.
6 day follow up sequence. I took that from a CRM that covers remodeling. But then the auto quote calculator, I had a client ask me to do that. So then if I put the auto quote calculator and then add the follow-up sequence to that, now I have my own idea. But then what else could I follow up on? Oh, estimates, invoices, objections. I can follow up on everything. Reviews, referrals. Now Alec has his own system. And then Alec puts it out. And then Adelina takes it and she applies it to construction. And then she's going to work with construction guys and she's going to learn, hey, there's actually other things we can adapt here because I'm niche down. I'm going to know these ideas that Alec won't. And now Adelina's made it her own. And she's going to tell other people about it and they're going to make it their own. Happens all the time. So take it, and you can go look at my first couple of videos on this channel. You can go look and see how bad they were, and I was still making phenomenal money. And go look at how bad they are. I'm like filming off of a webcam on a Chromebook. So take them. That's why I tell people. That's why I give my snapshots. I'm like, literally take this, make it better. Stephanie, we had a call with Stephanie a few weeks ago. She took my snapshot, she made it better. I can't even touch her snapshot now because it's so applied to nail techs that I don't understand them. So just with 2 clients, she's eons ahead of where Alec would be with nail techs. I got to play catch up. I'm behind. And that's why I encourage all of you guys to do. Take my stuff, make it better. Please seriously, as we sign off, please make a lot of money so then I can take partial credit and I can be selfish. I can ride your coattails, but just go make a lot of money so I can be like, oh yeah, I helped them make a bunch of money, right? Because that makes me look good. And then you're happy to do it because you made a ton of money. That's what all those interviews are on YouTube, the 10 case studies. Every time someone hits 10K, let's do a case study. Hey, do you mind if I put this on my channel? Yeah, you help me make the money. Great. I help them make money. And they're like, yeah, he did. I got a lot of money now. It's like, cool. Win-win. We can both be, I don't want to say selfish, but we can both put ourselves first and still put the other person first at the same time.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we'll go ahead and log off. Appreciate you guys staying as long as you do. You guys know I will sit here and answer as many questions as I can and just yap. So appreciate you guys coming in and asking questions and everything. And yeah, I'll see you guys next Wednesday. If you have any questions or anything, shoot me a DM or make a post in the group.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
See you guys. Have a good one.